Next level. Next level.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming to the Aspen Regular City Council meeting of Tuesday, July 14th. I'm going to take a small break from the regular agenda that we have in front of us after Nicole does the roll call.
Councillor Benedetti. Here. Councillor Doyle.
Here.
Councillor Guth.
Here.
Councillor Rose.
Here.
Mayor Richards.
Here. We don't have anyone specific down for scheduled public accounts today. It's not public comments, but instead we've asked the members of all of the city staff to come in so we can offer them some recognition on the incredible work they did providing this community a great 4th of July celebration. And so I'm going to ask that we all stand and applaud you. This was a joint effort from the police department, who kept us all safe and some of the traffic moving, working with the transportation department, who also organized the most incredible raft of services I've ever seen for getting people in and out of town. We had the parking department taking care of things and rushing people through where they were allowed to go when they were coming late and making sure that there was public access all the time. The parks department taking care of our parks and our land down at Rio Grande and Wagner and where all the events were. Just outstanding. The police, streets, transportation, parking, parks. But it all comes together under special events. The special events team who chose to bring us a carnival for the 150th and the 250th celebrations of Colorado and the United States. So again, we just want to thank you. The community gave me, and I think everyone up here, the number of, hey, this was great, thank you so much. So there was volunteers from other departments that I didn't mention, so thank you all the city employees who took time to volunteer and make this a success. Greatly appreciated. And I'll be nice enough to say that those who got thanked don't have to stay for the rest of our regular meeting. But thank you for coming in. Thank you. Thank you all. That was the best. All right, we will now go on to, we do not have scheduled public appearances other than that. We'll go into citizen comments and petitions. I see someone coming up right away, Charlie Tarver. Oh, one second. My manager has to make an announcement on our audio-visual.
Yes, I just wanted to remind folks that we are having a few difficulties with some of our systems, but not all. So if you're watching through Granicus tonight and or through the City of Aspen's YouTube channel, you should be just fine to see absolutely everything in the room as well as presentations. If you do log in through Zoom, you will be able to see the presentation material. You just won't be seeing the video that captures the room.
Okay. Yeah, we're working on that and ordering some new equipment, and sorry for those issues. It is now time for citizen comments and petitions. You'll have about 3 minutes. If you'll just state your name for the record. Mr. Tarver, we will begin.
Charles J. Tarver.
Very good.
Question about process. For instance, it specifically has to do with parking, HOA. Somebody comes in, they want to tear down a house and build up a 7-unit condo. We make an extraction of, you need to pay for 6 parking spots. Build them on site, that's fine. The HOA can then make a rule that says you can't park there. It seems nobody can enforce this. It's contrary to logic, and yet there's no enforcement to do it. Very similar, 5 months ago, and I found out it was done. Someone said, "Oh, never mind. Continue on." So, if an HOA says, we want to take all 7 cars not on the street. We don't want the building of a new unit to impact the street parking in a negative way. So we say build on-site parking. They build on-site parking, but then they say you can only put electric vehicles there. If you don't have an electric vehicle, you can't park there. They didn't say that. But if that's the mechanism, I don't have an electric vehicle, I can't park there. The HOA, according to city, the staff, and might ask Jim True, he said the HOA rules go. So they fundamentally said the mitigation required to build the unit was on-site parking, but I can't park there.
Thank you, Charlie. We're not going to be able to answer
I know.
at this
I
time,
know.
but we can look into it. I would like you to get us more information, the name of the HOA, who's in charge of the HOA, is it a free market or an affordable housing project? And so we can proceed and take a look at that. But it seems that if there's a mitigation requirement, then it should be utilized.
There are several things that I've had with HOAs that they're allowed to do, which takes away from public resources. Okay? For instance, the same HOA can take all the yard for all the employees and take it away. They can do it under HOA law, and Jim True says you can't do anything about it.
Well, again, I appreciate that as a heads up, so we can look at any future approvals to have some assurances. Thank you. And next public comment, is that you, Ruth? Thank you, Charlie.
Hi, my name is Ruth Harrison, and I'm here on behalf of the Senior Center. I have no ownership in it, I have no position in it. That place is over-the-top fantastic. The programs that they offer are unbelievable. The food is as good as any restaurant in town, only it's 1/8, 10th, 25th of the price. The cooks are fabulous. Cam and Don, they're so wonderful. The staff there, the whole thing, you couldn't do anything to change it to make it better, except for
Expand it.
it's way, way too small. We have a balanced class. We had 32 people today, and there was no room. We had people double in front and in back of each other, and you can't do the exercises that the teacher provides. The teachers that are leading it come from the hospital. They donate their physical therapists to us. You couldn't ask for a better facility, except there's no room. And like on Thursdays, it's really a trip because we have our class, and right next to us is a Mahjong class. And they're screaming and yelling, and we're trying to listen to what the instructor's saying. And I know that this is, I've been to P&Z already, and I know that this is, that the city, that the facility is not run by you, it's run by P&Z.
Excuse me, it's owned by the county, Pitkin County.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant, sorry. Yeah, owned by the county, and people from the hospital now are coming down there and parking. Oh, the parking is a complete nightmare. People are parking literally on the street that goes around, double parking. The whole thing is a nightmare, and it's one of the best facilities we have offered in this town. And somebody mentioned to me that the ARC is being redone. Is there any way that anything can be done with hooking anything up with the ARC to make it more accessible? I mean, I don't have any answers.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing this to us, Ruth, and we'll maybe discuss it with the county and see what their ongoing plans are for renovating or expanding. The ARC is not expanding, it is simply a repair job on the pool. It's a major repair job on the foundation of the pool. They have always had the Silver Sneakers program through the ARC and some of the others, but it has to close this summer to repair the pool. But you bring up a great point, and we'll take a look into what the county is planning. I do believe they're going to go for their renewal of the Healthy Community Fund this November, which would be potential funding for whatever they want to do at the senior center.
I mean, something really needs to be done because it's maxed out now, and in case you haven't noticed, most of us, not most of us, I shouldn't say that, many of us came here in the 70s, and we're still here.
But, yeah.
We all have gray hair, and I noticed. We all have gray hair, and there's going to be more and more people who go there, and more people now are starting to find out how fabulous it is, and the programs and the food, it's just over the top.
Okay, we take that to heart. But your time's up, and I appreciate, your time is up, and I appreciate you coming in for public comment.
No problem.
Thank you.
Get on it, Rachel.
Okay.
I heard you were a big supporter of the program there.
Well, I've helped pass the Healthy Community Fund twice, and
I
I'm
know.
planning on doing it again.
I've heard all about you, Rachel.
Yeah. Not all, I hope. Great, thank you.
Hello, Council, Mayor. I'm Chris McKelvey. I have been a resident and a professional dog trainer here for 46 years. Since the unleashing of the dogs 2 years ago in all city parks and open spaces but 3, there is a lot of misunderstanding of what is required from a handler before someone turns their dog loose. I see, I witness, and I hear the complaints daily of dogs approaching, jumping on, ambushing, accosting, assaulting, harassing, sniffing, wanting to play or fight, or just wanting to say hi without permission. All of the above are inappropriate without asking the other handler first. I am here to ask for better signage, public awareness, especially from your rangers, community service officers, and police, that perhaps even that there's more public awareness with the ticketing when abused, and that when off-leash privileges, there is a responsibility to control their dogs verbally. These are not dog parks. These are our public parks for all of us to enjoy, the old, the young, anybody. It's not like, and what I hear and what I get repeated is, if I say, will you please stop or recall your dog, sorry, he doesn't know that. That never comes out. What I usually get is, this is an off-leash area. I can do whatever I want. My dog can go wherever he wants. That's not true by the City of Aspen Ordinance 5.04.100. I'm going to quote harassing dogs, quote, a dog, in part, a dog shall be deemed harassing whether or not the offending dog inflicts injury, end quote. And under the City of Aspen new leash law updates, quote, supervision and owner remains within 150 feet and actively attentive. Verbal control of the dog must be possible at all times. A leash must be in possession and ready for quick restraint. Off-leash play must not interfere with public enjoyment or safety, end quote. That's what's written. Some examples of possible signage. You know, you have these nice signs with illustrations, wear a helmet, be courteous, etc. They're all around the parks and the open spaces. I'm projecting respect personal dog space. Ask before your dog approaches. Verbal control is required before you remove a leash. You must be.
We're just about over time
All
for
right.
your public
Yes, ma'am.
comment, but this is a really great matter that you've brought to us. Unfortunately, we just thanked the parks people, and they all just left, but we're going to show them this recording, this information. Our manager has been taking scrupulous notes, and if you would like to give your contact information to us so we can get more detail, we'll
Yes.
follow up.
Where should I give that?
Nicole, the clerk
Okay.
right there, will take your
I
information.
just want to show briefly, this is your own Pitkin County open space trail. Respect is ethic. It's on your leashes.
All right, well,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you for taking
Yes.
the time and coming in.
Yes. Yeah, welcome.
All right, we're going to ask, are there additional public comments in the room at this time? And we are not able to really get anyone online.
Nobody on
And nobody is even trying. So thank you very much. We're going to close the public comment and move on to the council members and mayor's orders of the day. Would anyone like to start?
You covered everything I had on 4th of July. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Sam?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll start by saying I want to report back on Aspen Ideas Fest as someone who had asked for passes for that and wanted to thank the Aspen Institute. I was very happy to note that they not only gave us, well, the pass that we paid for, but they also gave us all individual passes. They gave passes to the county commissioners, the mayor of Snowmass, and some city and county and Snowmass town manager staff. So that was really nice. That was accessible to us in that way. The one area I wanted to highlight, because obviously it's a lot of information and it's very inspiring, but the one session I went to that was especially inspiring was the mayor of Denver, the mayor of Oklahoma City, and the mayor of Dallas. 2 Republicans and a Democrat, but very nonpartisan as far as their discussion went. Just one of the things, some of the notes I took, let's see if they come out coherent. Housing affordability came out across the aisle. They talked about the importance of deed restrictions versus rent control and the quality of housing that comes from having deed restrictions versus trying to just control the rent and the problems that cause. They talked a lot about, and we're obviously a nonpartisan council, but they talked a lot about how even though they ran under certain Democrat or Republican titles, that really didn't matter in their minds, that they just want to make their communities a better place to live. So it was a very nice thing in this world of toxic politics. They talked about how it was an asset to better understand state legislation. So I always wanted to give kudos to staff and council members who bring up state legislation and how that comes back to us at the table. They talked about the importance of a militant pragmatism, that their residents come first and that they're always just trying to do what they can. They talked a lot about AI. So did the rest of the festival. They talked about need to be evaluated for efficacy. It's used a lot for public safety. I know we do that here in some ways. They have body camera AI. The mayor of Dallas talked about how their body camera AI had translation software. So when they had the FIFA World Cup there, officers could talk to they had 120 languages that they could speak to and have it be translated through their AI camera system, which was pretty impressive. The mayor of Denver, I was told this doesn't necessarily apply to us, Denver uses something called civcheck.ai, and it synthesizes permitting, which it goes through an application. Might be able to use it here, a permit application, and kind of highlights the only issues with it. So instead of having a person having to read 180 pages or something like that, it would highlight the 3 things that were marked for inaccuracy or question marks, and thus staff would only have to go through that and not the entire application. Talked about the importance of town halls for the more controversial topics, which I know we do here, which is also a very nice thing for transparency. Commissions for the advice needed on specific issues or people group. We also do that here, which is very nice. Excited about investment in the community and all the ribbon cutting ceremonies coming up. We have a lot of that going on here. And they talked about how mayors are entrepreneurs and not influencers because they're meant to deliver results. Local governments can fix democracy by delivering results, and trust begins at the local level, and positivity goes a long way at the local level. Talking about how even some of the people they disagree with the most, if they say it with a smile on their face and an authenticity to their voice, how nice that can come off to a community. So.
Yeah.
And that was the one I wanted to highlight. And thanks again to the Institute and for council for supporting getting passes. I thought it was very beneficial.
I think it's great that you had brought it up. I know I had some resistance to the dollars to begin with, but I think it's proved to be a valuable investment for our board and for our staff. And I do know that Pete and our innovation office are really evaluating and looking at a lot of different programs to find out what works the best. We always get challenged, unfortunately, with the cyber hackers and the people who find ways through other programs to get into a larger system. So it really takes a lot of evaluation. But I do appreciate it, and I think it's a world we all know it's coming. It's part of what Alyssa and the WeWorks or Workways, Diane Foster has been innovating on.
Yep.
Anything else?
That was it.
Thanks. I'm glad you could attend and represent the city. On this side?
Thanks. My only comment is a positive one. We spent a lot of time in the spring talking about emergency preparedness, and I just wanted to note that there have been 2 wild brush fires that broke out in the past couple days in the valley, and they were almost immediately extinguished. And in those meetings, we talked about what success looks like, and it's when those when those fires don't make the headlines and they are almost a non-story. So thank you to everyone who's paying attention and working on that.
Wait a second, I want to hear what you thought with the kids at the carnival.
Oh, I spent a lot of time at the carnival over the 4th of July, and it was a raving success from all ages and all accounts. It was really well done, and I think people were disappointed to know that it's not coming back next year.
Very good, John?
Yeah, I'm just going to read from the Roaring Fork Conservancy's most recent report from July 9th. Rivers in the Roaring Fork watershed continue to flow far below average for this time of year at 12 to 25% of normal. Several storms produced much needed but short-lived rainfall this week. The Castle Peak precipitation gauge measured the highest rainfall from Wednesday's storm, all of 0.3 inches. Precipitation gauges located in local headwaters have recorded below average monthly precipitation every month since last September. For the first time ever, an extreme heat watch was issued in the Roaring Fork watershed for this weekend. Releases from VI.A. Reservoir decreased 15 cubic feet per second, bringing flow on the lower Frying Pan River to 145 cubic feet per second. Water temperatures have reached 68 degrees Fahrenheit on the Roaring Fork in Glenwood Springs. As a reminder, anglers are encouraged to always carry a thermometer and reel it in when water temperatures reach 68 degrees. Fish early in the day or at higher elevations to protect the fishes. Right now in town, well, on July 9th in town, the Roaring Fork River was at 32 cubic feet per second. The mean is 300 feet per second. In Emma, the cubic feet per second was 299. The mean was 3 times that much, 1,156. Down in Glenwood, it was measured at 528. The mean is 5 times that much, 2,844 feet per second is the mean. The Frying Pan at Meredith is down to 39 feet per second. The norm is 299. And the Crystal at the hatchery near Carbondale is at 80 feet per second. The norm for that is 764, so that's roughly 11% of normal. Just want to encourage everybody to be considerate with their water use and open flames. Thanks.
Yeah, very good. I think people have pretty covered a lot of what I wanted to say to the public and to our community here. But I want to give a special thanks on the fire awareness. This was the first 4th of July, I recall, where I never saw or heard anyone setting off a private fireworks display. There's almost always a few rockets coming off of Smuggler Mountain or out in Woody Creek or Red Mountain. And I think everyone took the fire danger really seriously, and we have to continue to do so. I think the governor's just declared an emergency for one of the 2 fires burning outside a steamboat. It's just a new one pops up every day. So I really want to thank the community for what it's been doing to be extra cautious on fire and mitigating. And, you know, we also are thanking you for your consideration on water use. Whether it's irrigation or whether it's just using the dishwasher instead of hand washing dishes. Just every little bit that you're able to not use keeps a little more in our river, keeps the fish, hopefully our gold medal fisheries going, and gets us through till these monsoon rains really start to pop in. Again, it was a great 4th of July. I am so thankful. But we have upcoming other events, and one of those is the Mayor's Cup Golf Tournament. And that is going to be held on August 9th. That's a Sunday, and I hope people can save the date who are golfers or who know of golfers who might want to volunteer even and help us out, because the beneficiary is going to be the Wildfire Foundation. And they're the ones who are doing a lot of work in conjunction with the fire district and the fire council to help keep us safe. And so I'm really proud to see them as the beneficiary. They're out there working, gathering some sponsorships. They're going to have a lot of fun with a lot of swag and the food and the beverages and so on and so forth. So if you or your company or anyone else is a golfer and wants to participate and help raise a little money, just save the date. It is August 9th, Sunday. Thank you. We would now move on to, are there any agenda amendments?
There are not.
There are not. Okay, and then city manager comments.
Just two brief things. The first is that the community survey is still open for the public. You do not need to be a resident to actually fill out the survey, so please take the advantage to give us some feedback. You can find the survey at aspencommunityvoice.com if you're interested. The other thing is that our beloved Sam Rose is going to be at the Saturday market on the 25th.
Nice.
He'll be joined by our city's utility department at the booth for a while. So we just want to encourage folks to stop by, talk to your council member, give us feedback. Obviously, we have drought conditions in place. We have a new water treatment facility that we need to work on. And so we have staff there to answer questions.
Great. Thank you very much. We will now move on to board reports from council members. And let's start at this end. Maybe, John, with you and Christine?
Actually, no board reports.
Okay, nothing since the last meeting?
Nope, it's quiet.
How'd you guys luck out? Same.
I can do RAFTA.
Yeah, please.
Briefly, I think most of the RAFTA meetings surrounded the strategic plan and setting some of the plans for the strategic plan, the goals of the strategic plan moving forward. There was a lot of discussion about providing better service, incentivizing people to take the bus as opposed to traveling in single occupancy vehicles. I personally talked a lot about driverless cars and how to be a forerunner in that technology and experiment, particularly with our weather conditions. I don't think that there was a lot of other sort of groundbreaking information that came out of it that I recall, but everyone was fairly aligned in what the intent is of RAFTA being a first-class provider. And
Well, just to tag along, there's kind of two things going. One is the one-year goals, and you're absolutely right that those improving service, timeliness, everything is the top. The second is that RAFTA is starting a 10-year master plan effort, and we met the consultants for that, and it's about a $1.5 million effort, and it will take maybe a couple of years. I think it's very important that whatever other transportation ideas or efforts that people have in the Upper Valley should really coordinate that with RAFTA, whether it's Snowmass Village hoping to do something or whether it's a ski company and this nebulous gondola proposal, but they are designing the systems for the next 10 years. So your comment on that and the driverless cars was very timely. The other thing that was a major part of the discussion is the funding of the hogback route from past Newcastle to Silton Rifle. And in the past, the Garfield County Commissioners had funded that. They have dropped out. And they said they dropped the bomb. They've started, Tom Jankowski, Garfield County Commissioner, started attending the RAFTA meetings as an extra officio. He said they pulled the funding 100% to really send a wake-up call to the people of Rifle and Silt that they need to start contributing or doing something if they want that service. Kurt, the director of RAFTA, has been working for a period of time now to try to develop new funding mechanisms. And I think they overall believe that a vote to join RAFTA with the sales tax and the property tax would not pass in those communities. They might try to pursue a separate individual funding source in the following November, but not this year. They don't think they're ready enough. The two communities combined, I think, will be able to put in $140,000, $134,000. The Garfield County Commissioners at this point have said we will match what they put in up to $200,000, but that still leaves close to a $700,000 or $500,000 deficit that RAFTA is proposing to pick up for the next 3 years. And then they would like to have a ballot measure on the 2024. So there was some, the next regular election. There was some discussion about, well, we should only make this a 1 year that we fund it, and they can have their election sooner. And those communities just feel like, hey, it would be a failed election if you have it in an off election year when there's no president or congressman or governor running. But it's really, we passed a resolution supporting the comment. But until the Garfield County says, yes, we'll put in $200,000, it's not an IGA. It's not being finalized. And we need to discuss that more seriously because I'm not sure, it's one system, you want everyone to use it, but it's money that would not go to the downtowner in Carbondale or other communities to help support their startups, or the first and last mile for bike riding and WeCycle. It just means there's other things you can't do, but yet are these workers who really come on the BRT all the way up to Aspen from Rifle or up to Snowmass for that matter. The RAFTA pattern tends to be kind of a two-community skip to a job in throughout the area. So there's a lot of questions that are remaining, and I just wanted to kind of make people aware of that, particularly our transportation department, because it may be well worthwhile to subsidize this, but there's a question where you're starting to build 1,000 homes where there's not 1,000 jobs, and then depending on someone else to pay for the transportation system to get you to the jobs. So that's a challenge. I did want to thank all the departments involved in the Paul Petals and Public Safety Forum that was had out here at the library. It was really well attended, and a lot of good information was brought forward. I did attend the Aspen Chamber Resort Association Board of Directors meetings at the end of the month in January, since our last meeting, and their occupancy report and things like that are all on our information items, so they're online with us for anyone who would like to review those. The big news is that ACRA did close on its new facility, and they are now painting and remodeling and kind of getting that in there. They will have a permanent home, which has been a goal of our Chamber of Commerce for probably about 20 years, and stop moving around. So that is very good, and that facilitates their full move out of the Armory buildings, and we are moving forward with that project. So those were the big news. And then also that RAFTA is vigorously, ACRA is vigorously pursuing additional transportation modes for the winter closure of the summer closure of the airport. Very involved with that. All right, now we would move on to the consent calendar. And we have two items on the consent calendar today. The first is Resolution 086, Series of 2026, the Yellow Brick Lease for the Early Learning Center, and Resolution 087, Series of 2026, the Yellow Brick Lease for the Ajax Cubs. So we'll take those together. It's kind of funny how they're grouped under one title, but are they two separate votes or one vote?
It is on your consent agenda, so technically you can prove it through one vote.
Okay, okay, because so there's actually three resolutions. Resolution number 88, series of 2026, the Cemetery Lane Multimodal Intersection Improvements. And this is right there at, I think, Silver King Drive, as it's starting to go down the hill, and it's a bus stop, and it's really needs a little work to be a little safer. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? Are there any items people would like to pull?
I'll make a second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Would you call the roll?
I do have one question, though.
Okay, we'll hold off on the roll call. What's the question?
Just the question on Resolution 88. I was just wondering if there was going to be a WeCycle station at that spot, or if there could be. I feel like it's a gap, and it was talked about previously.
Okay, good memory.
Hi, Kyla Smits, project manager with the engineering department. We are going to be installing conduit so that a WeCycle station can be installed in the future and be electrified, but it is not currently in the budget or transportation's immediate plans to install a WeCycle station, but the infrastructure will be available when the transportation department and WeCycle come to an agreement to install a station.
Okay. I guess as a follow-up, could I understand what the budget is for that and when we might be able to see? I imagine it'd be a good thing for next summer, and it could be part of a budget discussion in October.
Yeah, not a question to answer now,
Yeah.
but just to take a look at it and bring it back, and we'll see where it's at, what it takes.
Yeah.
Yep, can do.
Okay.
Okay,
Great. That's
great.
all I want. Thanks.
Yeah, no, good question. Thank you for that. And thank you for designing it with conduit. I don't think we should design anything without conduit in it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Great. And then we have a notice of call-up.
Oh, no, you got to do the
Oh,
vote,
wait,
sorry.
sorry, you, no,
messed it up.
broke my concentration. Roll call, please.
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you. The three resolutions on the consent calendar have passed, and we will move to the notice of call-up. This is for 500 West Francis Street, Certificate of Appropriateness for Major Development, Relocation and Benefits. Please, Dan, if you want to take that away.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Dan Folk, Planning Director. So we do have one item on your call-up agenda tonight. And so the purpose of this is for you to just kind of see a high-level overview of what the Historic Preservation Commission approved. If you're okay with that, you don't have to take any action. If you do have concerns, then you can call it up and we would schedule it for a future hearing. So we're looking at a certificate of appropriateness for a major development, which was a concept approval, relocation, and then there were benefits. So here's a photo of the home at 500 West Francis from 1894. And here's a more recent photo. It's amazingly similar. Let's see if it advances. There you go. So there's a more recent photo. I'm sure people are familiar with this. It's at the corner of Francis and 4th. So you've got the primary structure and then a carriage house at the rear. Here's a summary of what the commission approved. There was a certificate of appropriateness for major development concept review, which will allow for a new garage and a connecting element. The new garage will remain separate from the carriage home, and then there's an addition that's coming off of the carriage home. There is a relocation, and that's really to lift it and temporarily move it, I believe, so that they can excavate the basement. It's not being moved off property. It'll be set back down right where it is today. There were benefits provided in relief of some setback relief. Some of that was for existing structures which were non-conforming, and some is for the subgrade improvement. And then there was an approved light well exemption, which is basically if you meet a location criteria, you can qualify for this light well exemption, which it doesn't go against your square footage. I have one image of the proposed addition. So this is kind of from the side yard if you were on the west side of the home. So that gray structure is the new garage coming off of the alleyway, and then you can see the carriage house behind it with the addition removed, as well as that connecting element is really interesting. It's a clear connecting element, again, so that the emphasis is on the historic resource. So again, if you're okay with the decision and the outcome of the commission, I don't believe you have to take any action. Otherwise, if you do want to consider that outcome, I believe you would make a motion to call it up for future consideration.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Council members, are there any questions or comments? Is there any interest in calling this up? I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads, so I'm going to say no. There will be no call up. Thank you very much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
All right. We are here for a first reading of an ordinance. After we go through this one, I'm going to suggest a really brief break, and then we'll go into the two public hearings that remain on our schedule. This is ordinance number 14, series of 2026, the Construction and Demolition Debris Diversion Code updates. Thank you. And we saw a work session on this, or an information memo a little while ago. So.
Correct, yeah.
Quick question for my presentation notes. Do you mind if I need to change this? from you.
Why don't I share and then you can do yours in presenter mode? I can do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have access?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. Good
Very good.
evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Elizabeth Richardson, and I'm the Construction Debris Coordinator with the Engineering Department. And with me are
I'm Haley Rodell, Deputy City Engineer.
And Aaron Reed, Construction and Plans Supervisor.
I'll be presenting Ordinance Number 14, Series of 2026 for first reading, amending or recommending amendments to Chapter 29.02, the Construction and Demolition Debris Diversion Program. Next, yeah. The proposed code amendments include first the removal of the diversion compliance deposit, and secondly, exempting roof replacement projects. The rest of the program will stay the same. This is based on first-year implementation and the feedback that we've received from the construction industry and community. The goal of the construction and demolition debris diversion program is to reduce the disposal of recoverable building materials as well as conserving our landfill space. And since implementation, we have achieved compliance from all the projects that we've worked with. This program applies to major projects greater than 2,000 square feet in construction mitigation area. The results since 2025 have been that the active projects have documented over 12,000 tons of debris, and from that, 80% has been diverted from the landfill. How we achieve that compliance is based on three major things that we learned throughout the implementation. Firstly, it's the review of the debris diversion plan during permit application. Then the second piece of it is the education, offering workshops to contractors and permit applicants, trainings for staff on site that do the labor, and then requiring inspections prior to demolition as well as throughout the different project phases. And then the final part is the immediate enforcement of unsorted load fees or stop work orders, which we have not enforced because it wasn't necessary. So why are we recommending the removal of the diversion compliance deposit? First, I wanted to dive into the deposit formula. It's at the top of the slide. It's based on the construction mitigation square feet. And since this program applies to projects greater than 2,000 square feet, if you enter these 2,000 times 0.05, times $495, which is the social cost of carbon, the minimum deposit amount will always be $49,000. And we've requested deposits ranging from $65,000 upwards over $500,000. The feedback we received from owners and permit applicants has been a concern about the high dollar amount, as well as how long we're holding these deposits for. Some projects can take 3 years to completion, and staff has also recognized an additional administrative burden by requesting these deposits, administering them, returning them.
Sure.
Yep. In practice, the deposit always gets returned in full. Projects always stay in compliance. If they're not, we shut them down when the unsorted loads appear. We work with the contractors on site to minimize all these unsorted loads or make them not show up. The money simply moves back and forth between the city and the owners or the permit applicants. What actually drives compliance is the required inspections, as well as having staff monitoring these projects, enforcing unsorted load fees, or stop work orders. And the second request, why do we want to exempt roofing replacement projects? The most common roofing materials that are used locally cannot be recycled locally. For example, asphalt shingles or cedar shingles. There are also issues with metal roofs since they are glued together with different materials, and then it's really hard to actually recycle that metal. So instead of using time to review these permit applications, we want to use that time to focus on the projects that can actually divert material, speed up the issuance for the roofing permits, and focus on the bigger goal of this program. So in conclusion, staff recommends approval on first reading of Ordinance number 14, series of 2026. These updates reduce administrative and applicant burden and improve program efficiency while maintaining compliance. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Well, let's ask questions for second reading. Bill?
Thanks. Firstly, thank you for reacting to the feedback in the community on this and for bringing this to us. I appreciate it. Secondly, I know you noted a few things in your memo, but I'd still be curious, and I'm fully supportive of what you're trying to do specifically here, but I'd be curious. Yeah. I'd be curious to see where else we are deviating from the county program and if there remains good reasons for those deviations. I'd like those two programs to align as much as possible to eliminate confusion, I think would be my goal. But if you have good reasons for it, I'm open to contemplating those, for sure.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
Sam, do you have any questions for second reading? Christine or John? No. Okay, I do have two, again, for second reading. I'm just kind of wondering why cedar shake roofs, shingles can't be, shredded and composted or something like that. So again, just for second reading, maybe they're treated with chemicals. I just don't know. I imagine, or paints. And the second is, at second reading, give us an idea where these diverted materials go. What are we really getting that is going somewhere? I have metals, obviously, and this and that, but it's for the public's information. And it's easy for us to just talk about waste diversion, but it's nice for them to know what we're really keeping out of the landfill and how we're helping to extend the landfill life.
Sounds good.
Okay. Is there a motion to pass ordinance number 14, series of 2026, construction and demolition debris diversion code updates?
So moved.
I would ask that you read the ordinance.
Oh, I always forget that.
I'm sorry.
I'll move to read Ordinance 14.
Thank you for that.
Second.
All three of them are on the edge of their seat to remind me. Okay, there's been a motion to read. Is there a second? Second. Okay, thank you. Will you call the roll on the vote to read?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yep.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes.
Ordinance number 14, series of 2026, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aspen, Colorado, amending Title 29 of the Aspen Municipal Code to update Chapter 29.02, Construction and Demolition Debris Diversion, to remove deposit requirements and exempt certain roof replacement projects.
Thank you, Nicole.
Move to approve Ordinance 14 on first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Christine's got that one.
Thank you.
Nice of you to let it go. Will you call the roll on passing ordinance 14 on first reading?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much. That has passed. The next two items are temporary and seasonal use request at 111 South Garmisch, and then ordinance 13, series of 2026. We are going to take a quick 5-minute break. If anyone can get the first presentation up and rolling, we'll be back soon. Welcome back, folks. It's just about 6 o'clock on Tuesday, July 14th, and this is the regular City Council meeting. I'm going to turn to our manager. We're having some audio-visual challenges, and he's going to update us as to whether we really can continue right now in a public hearing setup.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So we are having challenges with Zoom at this point. Zoom is allowing us to receive input from folks that would call online, which would include folks that want to make public comment. However, those folks would have to listen in using one of the other alternatives, which would be YouTube or Granicus as a feed for them to be able to hear what we're saying. At this point, Zoom is not picking up the audio in this room any longer. So with that, there is no legal hurdle to prevent us from moving forward, but it is a decision for the applicants to know whether that is a barrier that you would prefer not to have for receiving public comment. And if so, we would want to allow for continuance of those public hearings if the applicant desired.
Yeah. And I would just add on to that we've been having technical analysts and specialists in to try to deal with this problem for weeks now.
Yeah, it's actually a source of quite large frustration for me, as well as I'm sure for all of you, for all of the applicants, and for the public. So I apologize for that, very much so.
Okay. So I guess the question would be to you, would you like to proceed under those sort of conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're going to go forward, and then we will ask you the same question on the second reading, the second item. Here we go.
Good evening, Mayor Richards, City Council. My name is Brianna Dolvin. For those of who I have not met, I'm a planner 2 with the Community Development Department. This resolution number 92, series of 2026, is for temporary and seasonal use requests for the Molly Hotel. The applicant will first present to y'all, and then I will follow up with staff's presentation. So I'll hand it over to Austin.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Good evening, Mayor Richards and council members. It's fantastic to be with you this evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Austin Luckett. I'm the general manager for Molly Aspen. For those of you that don't know, this is the third time that we brought this request to council, first in 2024, then 2025, and finally this year. And this is also the first time that I'm presenting to you myself. And the key reason for this is that I think it's really important for yourselves and anyone else in the community to be able to hear from the actual operator who has ties to the community. So the request is a temporary tent on our 3rd floor deck. It's up to 39 days per year and approved for a 5-year term from 2026 to 2031. And it's erected around permitted events only and removed within 24 hours of said event. So as I mentioned, this is the 3rd time we brought this up. 2024, we received approval and we didn't use the use permit. 2025, we brought the same request. And in 2025, we did actually use it. And we used it 10 times during the year. During that period of time, I believe that the course of action from the council was for us to use it, see how it impacted the community overall, and come back to the council to see if we could extend the period. And so with that, I'm really pleased to say that we have not received any comments personally, and staff has also indicated that they have not received any complaints regarding the rooftop tent as well. So what are these 39 days actually used for? So the code actually permits us to request up to 180 days. We're not asking for that. We don't need that. At this point, we're only asking for 39, and we actually agree with the council's original interpretation of it, saying 39, let's give it a shot. And our business is still building. We recognize the potential impacts of overuse. Trust me, I'm a community member. I'm really invested in making sure that our building, not only Molly, but the hotel, is a positive member of the community. And so we want to be mindful of that in everything that we do. So with regard to the events that we're moving forward with the tent, it's permitted every single time. The tent goes up for each event, and then it comes down within 24 hours. There's very little negative impact there from a physical or visual standpoint. And it hosts weddings, destination dinners, and then also public programming as well. With regard to the public programming, because I know that that was a concern as well, and with regards to privatization of the rooftop, An example of this is during the past holiday season. I don't know if all of you happen to remember, but Christmas, it was raining. Hopefully we don't have that happen again. But this tent let us offer an amenity not only to our guests, but the public as well. And so we had cookie decorating, live music, and actually a holiday market. And we brought local artisans in, and they were able to show their wares. And really, that was a space that they may not have otherwise had, particularly during a really peak period here in Aspen. Another component here, and this is more in support of the 5-year request, with our business, wedding requests and other requests for event business tend to come up to 24 months out. So with the year-to-year approvals that we've been doing up to this point, it makes it very challenging for our team to go out and build a book of business. And that's really what we're asking for here. We want a little bit of consistency for our end so that we can provide that clarity to all of our clients as well. Let's see. As far as visual mass, I know the staff report says that this tent reads taller than the building. It is tall. But from the ground, the tent really only has partial visibility from Garment Street as well as east of us on Main Street. And it really only exists for a few days at a time, no more than 39 days per year. And there's no actual standing mass. This isn't a permanent structure that's on the roof. It goes up and it comes down. It's as simple as that. And here's just a quick summary of what we went through. And then here's some examples of what it looks like. So in terms of mass, you can see you're looking at the entire roof structure here. There's the spa pool to the left here. The bar is actually internal. And then the tent does not actually take over the entire deck. It's just part of it. And once again, here's just the timeline that we've gone through from 2024 till now. And some examples of the events that we've been able to hold up on the rooftop here. So in closing, really what we're asking for here is the 5-year approval. Without multi-year certainty, it's really challenging for us to be able to confirm the business because the approval that we would require to say book something for next July doesn't exist yet. And that's something that we really want to be mindful of in being quality partners for not only the council and the city, but our neighborhood as a whole. So in closing, we're just asking you to approve this resolution with a limited and individually permitted use after 2 clean seasons of use behind it, no complaints. And it's operated by Molly, a lodge that's treated this community as its own.
Thank you. And now we have a staff presentation.
Yes.
So this is our staff presentation for the temporary use.
And you are?
Oh, I am Brianna Dolvin, Planner 2 with Community Development.
Thank you.
So this request, the request is for approval of a 598 square foot temporary tent located on the 3rd story rooftop deck for a total of 39 days per year with an automatic renewal period of 5 years. The main review for this application is temporary and seasonal use approval. It is also subject to growth management and commercial design standards. The Molly Hotel is located at 111 South Garmisch Street on the corner of Main and Garmisch and is adjacent to Pepke Park. It is in the mixed-use zone district and the Main Street Historic District, and it received approval for redevelopment in 2015. This is the 3rd temporary and seasonal use request submitted for this property. The first request was in 2024, where the applicant asked for a 10-year condition approval for 75 days per year. The proposed structure was a 540 square foot tent located on the 3rd story rooftop deck. During the time of this approval, council had concerns about impacts on the surrounding residential properties and opted to grant a 39-day, 1-year trial period. However, this approval was not utilized. Because of this, the applicant returned in 2025 for renewal of the 2024 approval. Council granted this approval for the same number of days, location, and design. Over this approval period, the tent was utilized for 10 days. but staff did recommend denial for both the 2024 and 2025 applications. As previously stated, today's request is asking for temporary and seasonal use for a 598 square foot tent that's located on the 3rd story rooftop deck. It's for 39 days per year with an automatic renewal period of 5 years. The tent is open on all 4 sides and includes a beige laminated polyester top. Although the materials have not changed, a notable change from past approvals is the area of the proposed tent, which has increased from 540 square feet to 598 square feet. And here is a rendering provided by the applicant of the proposed tent that is seen from Garmisch Street. And this image shows the area of the tent in relation to the deck outlined in red. Staff continues to find that the proposal does not meet all applicable review criteria. Criteria for temporary and seasonal uses asks us to assess the relation of the proposed use to existing conditions and character of the area. While staff acknowledges that all events that would utilize a temporary tent are aligned with approved uses, staff still has concerns for potential impacts on neighboring residential properties from an increase in use and intensity. The design of the 3rd story step-down deck was approved and intended to help the building better align and scale with surrounding buildings. The proposed location of the tent adds additional massing, where criteria under the Main Street Historic District calls for new designs to be similar in scale to historic buildings existing in the district. And the temporary use criteria addresses visual impacts of the proposed use. While the proposed location is adjacent to an alley, the tent will still be visible from Garmisch Street, Main Street, and Pepke Park when it is in use. And then the image on the screen shows the location of the proposed tent, and this is taken from on the west facade of the building. And finally, the proposed materials are inconsistent with review criteria in the commercial design standards and the Main Street Historic District, which state materials should be found in the current block context or be historically seen in the character area. There's also more criteria that is associated with this review that is available for you to look through, provided for you in your packet. But staff has highlighted these 3 criteria as those that are not being met through the proposal. If council does decide to approve the request, there are 5 conditions of approval, which are noted in the resolution. These conditions are consistent with past approvals for this temporary use for the property. And I'll just give you guys a second to read those. So based on the review criteria not all being met, staff recommends denial. If council does wish to approve the request, the resolution is written in the affirmative. Provided on the screen are both a motion to deny and a motion to approve based on council's decision. Thank you all so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Bill, you have a question?
Thanks. Both my questions are for Austin. Question 1, Austin, are you okay with the 5 conditions that staff proposed?
Absolutely.
Does make sense to you? And
yeah.
the per event or per erection tent permit is a process you've been through before and works fine for you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And secondly, this one's sort of tangentially related to this, but while we have you, I thought it'd be valuable for me to ask this. And it's related to the airport closure next year and what you've mentioned regarding event inquiries with long lead times prior to the event date. And any data you can share with us about what those event inquiries are looking like relative to events for 25, I'd be interested to hear about. We're trying to gauge, and obviously no one knows the answer here, but we're trying to gauge what the impact on the community would be, particularly as we set budget for next year.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to do that for sure. And I'm happy to follow up with a more detailed answer via email so that you can actually internalize it. But in terms of what we've seen so far, and particularly, like, strangely in the last week, more so than anything, we've seen a lot of leads come in for summer of 2027 for, and granted, Molly is much smaller than a lot of our competitors here, so these tend to be more modestly sized weddings. You're looking at 20 to 30 people maximum, but I think in the last week or so, we've received 4, if not 5, requests for pricing for.
And they know the airport's going to be closed?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I'd love to hear any further info you're able to share with us later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I would like to make a comment, and as before we go forward, last year when we had the hearing on this and you gave kind of a synopsis, it was a little incomplete because I know very specifically I had raised this question kind of mirroring our staff's concern that this is not at all aligned with the building itself. And I had asked, if you're going to come back, we'll give it to you this year, can you design something that is a flat roof and that is fit in with the building massing that you already have? And again, this is just the same pop-up, cheap-looking tent from afar, and you're asking for 5 years of it. And I just haven't seen any work done put into trying to respond to the negative concerns that you heard the 2 times you were here first. You know, I had suggested taking a look at the type of trellis roof they have over the courtyard of the old Michola on Main Street, something that could be structurally significant to that building and still be a trellis that could be open air, and you could put a little cloths over it as necessary when you're really worrying about rain. But this still doesn't match, and I don't understand why that direction for coming back this year was not followed.
I appreciate that, Mayor Richards, and I do want to clarify, we actually are pursuing a separate project with a trellis-related structure, not specifically for the roof, but that approval for that particular project would directly relate, in my opinion. Granted, again, I'm not an expert here, but I believe it would directly relate to the rooftop. And if we are able to do that, then candidly, that would be my preference. But in the meantime, those particular processes are taking a lot longer than I think any of us would particularly like. And so while that's my intention, and I'm happy to come back to council in the future, this is what where we're at the moment.
So have you submitted some design proposals to ComDev or something, or how do you mean it's in process?
I believe it was either submitted last week or it'll be submitted this week, but we have a proposal that is going to be, if it hasn't been, it'll be presented imminently.
And is it for the roof area or somewhere else on the property?
No, it's for the backside of the property on the ground level, but it would be related in terms of the type of structure that would be placed, and it should directly relate to what you're requesting.
Okay, I'm still not really clear. You're saying you're looking for an expanded area to use for your guests on the back of the hotel as well, and then the tent on the top?
Correct. So that's going to be a separate proposal that is presented. But what the connection I'm trying to make is that is going to be another development process that is going to take place specifically for, it's the PM Terrace, if any of you have been on property, that back terrace area. And I think that does directly relate to what we're doing on the rooftop, because if we can have that approved and that is okay with everyone on the council as well as the neighborhood, then that is something that I think we would definitely consider for the rooftop area. It is more permanent, it's definitely more visually appealing. And candidly, again, we do want to be quality partners to the city and to the council and make sure that it is visually appealing, not a distraction.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound nitpicky, but it is the historic Main Street. The building itself went through very extensive reviews, and then to just kind of, it gets a little Mr. Potato Head. By the way, we forgot to actually design this or have this approved or present that we were planning on using this patio that way in the future. I like to be realistic, and I think Bill has brought up a really good concern that the whole community shares related to summer of '27. And I will consider moving this forward with the discussion of the rest of the council, but I would only make it for 2 summers. I would make it for the remainder of this year, or are you operating on your permit this year now from last year's approval?
Sorry, was that one question or two?
I'm trying to trace when this approval would start. Would it be 27 for the next 5 years? Or is this an approval for the summer of 26 for the next 5 years?
It would be from this date, from summer of '26 for the next 5 years.
Okay. Again, I would consider personally supporting it through the summer of 2027, but I would like to see the more permanent solution and not just a pop-up tent anymore. It's been going on for a long time. That's
sorry.
just my position.
May I clarify that?
Yeah.
So you said for more than the 1 year, you said for 2 years. So from now until 2027?
Including summer of 2027.
Okay, so then it would run to 2028 or no?
Is that how we do it through this spring, or what would the date be of 2020?
I think the current permit's still valid as of today, right? So I think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out so that by the time we get to summer 2028, we're seeing a real proposal. You've had a chance to come in and work with us. So maybe I'm talking about an 18-month proposal or something that doesn't land us in the middle of July. And again, let's have some discussion with the rest of the board to see if, yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up to your comments there to make sure that myself and they understand? Are you asking them to propose in 2 years' time, let's say if that's the direction we go, a permanent structure, or are you asking them to design a tent that looks more like a permanent structure?
I would be open to either alternative if it was something that was architecturally aligned with the design of the building and didn't have the pop-up look. If I'm saying an open-air roof, I understand that was the solution at Chola so that it did not add FAR in a way that had to be mitigated, but allowed them to be able to spread a banner across it or anything that would protect from rain.
Thanks.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But John, I see your hands up too, and we'll come back around.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I was on council when this tent proposal first came before us, and I remember it was a pretty spirited discussion because the tent, the peak of the tent is higher than the roof. And so that incompatibility with Main Street architecture was pointed out from the get-go. And when we approved this, it was very much going to be a temporary thing until something else, some other solution could be found. So the hotel was first opened in 2025?
No, December of 2023.
December of 2023. Okay, and you're seeking approvals to enlarge the back patio right now or enclose it?
Neither, and I would rather not speak on that at this point. I'm not the primary spokesperson on that point, so I can't speak as knowledgeably about it, but only in most general terms. So neither would there be enlargement or neither would there be an enclosure. Both of those things I'm certain wouldn't be approved, and nor are those things that we are seeking to do.
Okay, because I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. That's kind of what it sounded like to me, that the back area was going to be enhanced in some way, as well as maybe replacing the tent with a trellis structure at some point, which is two very large projects on a fairly recently built hotel. Again, that's a concern of mine. I agree with Rachel. I think this was approved as a temporary thing until a more permanent solution could be found. So I cannot do this for 5 years. I'd be willing to allow it for 2, as Rachel suggested.
2 or 20 months. I have to really think about how we line it up so that when you get to summer of 2028, you're going to be thinking about serious. You're going to have already gone into the process for a new.
Absolutely. If I may, and totally understood on the timeline, and again, I don't want to be pushing my luck at all, but being mindful of what the seasonality in this town is, if it would be possible to extend that through September, which is going to be the primary season of whether it's 27 or 2028, that would be my preference in lieu of the 5 years. Ideally, we would get 2 full seasons out of it, gives us the opportunity to go through this process and come back to you with a full proposal with either a flat top or a tent, something that does not necessarily lend to the massing, or to the other potential opportunity, which could be a trellis on the top.
Okay, well, let's see how others feel about that. Christine, you've been on P&Z before, so.
Yes, this should maybe go back to P&Z as a administrative process. But my only question is, you described it being a beige laminate polyester, but then showed a photo of a clear tent. Has it been both?
It has been both an opaque as well as a clear. And the reason being is that there are two very clear needs from the guests that are coming to the hotel. Some have the preference for the clear and others have the preference for the opaque.
Okay. I actually like the clear one, and it seems to be more appropriate for the neighborhood. But I think we all want a permanent solution here. The coming back for a temporary use permit every year, every 5 years doesn't seem sustainable. So I would be okay with moving to, 2027 and 2028, and then hoping that something more permanent can be arrived at after that.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Sam?
I appreciate you coming back here. I feel like you come back here because of the code and the fact that we only do 1 year at a time. So this is a yearly endeavor. The pragmatist in me says the highest number here, especially if there's a majority, but to go through, to do this through September, or I would even say, just for your sake, October of 2028. So like have it be approved through October, Halloween 2028.
I would support that. And just to clarify, I don't just come back here for the code reasons. I actually do appreciate these meetings. And I'm not just saying that. As I was sitting here earlier, I do really appreciate how approachable both Mayor Richards as well as all the council members are. It's something, and I've lived in a lot of cities up to this point. It's not something that's very common. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for that. And I think we may be close. Would you consider supporting a 2-year to 2028, October of 2028?
That's fine with me, but I think we need to open public comment
Okay, well, I just want to
before we make a decision.
Yeah, no, and before we, and our attorney has that look on her face. I always think there's something she wants to tell me.
You just might want to clarify, I don't know if this question of timing, right now, the way the resolution is written, it's 5 years, including 2026 through 2031, so that would include 2026. I saw a question, and Mr. Anderson shook his head yes, that suggests that they still have days to use in 2026. So what I think I'm hearing is, and one possible option for whoever makes this motion might want to consider, is you could do 39 days in 2027 and 39 days in 2028, and that would clarify it without putting sort of an end date on it, because I think the applicant discussed having even events in December. I don't know if council would like to preclude any events from October of 2020 onward, but it's just a comment of what's the outcome you're seeking here. And I would formulate your motion to sort of respond to that. I think the intent of the resolution as proposed is 39 days per year. It suggests 12 months. When that 12-month starts is not identified. So I think you could address it that is just one way you could address it. You could obviously allow 39 days per 12 months, each 12-month period beginning now, too. But I think they still have time available, and they're not seeking additional days for 2026, is what I'm understanding. So I just wanted to provide some clarity to that discussion.
That's very helpful. I appreciate that.
But I do agree with Councilmember Guth. You do need to open it up for public comment. Again, with this technical issue, we might just want to give some time to those people online so that everything can catch up, because I don't know what the gap in when they're hearing it and when they can respond is.
Okay, we look like we have 2 people online. I agree with that, and I just wanted to flesh this out as much as we can so the public comments are related to where council might be going. And if we're talking about, at least I will express individually, my goals for this are to support the hotel being able to have this use for a period of time that works, but not seeing a continual temporary of a structure that our staff disagrees with and that is against our codes. And so those are the 2 goals I have with this item. But it will be time to open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak to this item? No, you'll be on the next one. And I am not seeing any hands in the room. I do not see any hands online. We see a Francis S., and that might be Mr. Stuckins, and Patrick Raleigh online, but you have declined the comment. You're in the room. Francis, I'm not sure if you had intended to try to speak, but if so, you'd need to, can he raise his hand?
Still raise his hand.
You can raise your hand with the feature on that. And
No, there's like a 30-second delay from live stream.
okay, and so there is a little bit of a delay. We'll just give it time in between to see if you're able to raise your hand and want to make a public comment. Francis? Seconds always seem long when you're waiting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
30 seconds at a stoplight versus.
Watching water boil.
Okay, well, I don't believe that Francis wants to make a public comment. I'm sorry, we are technically a little handicapped right now. No one in the room wants to make a public comment. I will close the public hearing.
Would you accept the motion?
Yes, I think we're ready for a motion, if you have been hammering
Okay.
it out. Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say it and then amend it to what our attorney said. So I move to approve Resolution Number 92, Series of 2026, approving the request to erect a 598 square foot laminated polyester tent on the third-story deck at 111 South Garment Street, subject to conditions, with the amendment that it be no new added days for the calendar year 2026, but run through 27 and 28 with 39 days in each of those calendar years and expire at the end of 2028.
In lieu of the 5 years.
In lieu of the 5 years.
Seconded.
That's very good construction, and I do like it through the end of 2028 there if there's Christmas activities again. And again, this is just to encourage you to let's get a permanent fix.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Would you call the roll, Nicole?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Guth?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you all so much.
And thank you, staff, for working on this.
Yeah.
Okay, we are now going to move on to ordinance number 13, series of 2026, 105 North 8th Street, major subdivision amendment, floor area variance amendment to a city council ordinance. I'm going to
Before Councilmember Guth leaves, to the extent he
wait,
needs
wait.
time to discuss a potential continuance because of our technical difficulties with his
we have
representatives.
to ask you guys about that. If you feel,
He can go out of the room and discuss it. I just want to give him that time if he needs a few minutes.
I'm good. Are you guys good? I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you for that.
okay, thank you, Kate, for that.
Chair move. Did you give me the defective chair? I did.
Do you want this one?
It's part of the psychology.
Part of
It's
the
okay.
trick.
I feel like I'm sitting in a hole, but it's okay. There's just a thing that lifted. There we go.
Welcome. I have to ask you the same questions. You're comfortable with the technical issues we're having?
We are, for the record, Patrick Raleigh, Raleigh Design Planning. We are fine with that, and I'd also like to add that we have knowledge that one public comment that was submitted to a council member via text
Yes.
has been clarified, and that person has changed their position, but I didn't see that come in this afternoon.
Well, I don't think there was any position. I need to know what this one is.
I think I can speak to that, Mayor Winnan, if you're ready for me to do so. I'll let you decide when it's appropriate to address that issue.
Okay. Do you believe it's appropriate now? I mean,
Sure.
just moving forward.
As a preliminary matter, we can take up this issue of the public comment that Mr. Raleigh has just identified.
It's okay.
Council received a communication from me identifying that one of the council here had received a public comment via text message. That text message was relayed to the applicant so that they had an opportunity to review it and respond, and to all of council so that you were aware of it as part of the record in this matter. My understanding is, and I received this email very late today, right before this council meeting, is that that particular person that commented was Ms. Ruby wants to clarify that her comment was not in opposition to the project. And to the extent it was viewed as an opposition to the project, that was not her intention. She was just pointing out information she had become aware of that might be related to the application and to certain representations made, but it was not intended to reflect that she's opposed to this application. So she asked that I relay that verbally. I think that's what you're
That is correct,
is
yeah.
in line with what you understand.
Yes.
And she did ask that I do that verbally.
Thank you.
And I did want to sort of address
Please.
one other issue that has come to my attention during the last 24 hours. 2 council members were contacted by an individual that provided public comment. And this individual communicated, and this is the same individual in the text message we're discussing, communicated to these 2 council members that the applicants had attempted to contact them to discuss this comment. I just want to clarify that no additional information was provided to these council members that relates to the merits of this application. However, I recognize that the report about this interaction could be viewed as information related to this application that was provided to a decision maker, which you all are, outside of the public hearing process. And I think it should be noted for the record so that there's no confusion. I just also want to note that applicants are not precluded from contacting members of the public that have provided public comment. And I have advised the 2 council members that became aware of this report of additional communications between the commenter and the applicant, that it not be given any weight in this deliberation because it does not involve a substantive issue related to the application itself. But just for the record, I wanted to make a record on this additional communication. I don't think there's anything more I need to say about it, but we need to be, this is a quasi-judicial hearing.
Yeah.
Any information you get as decision makers needs to be shared about a particular application, needs to be shared with the applicant so that they can respond accordingly and to your fellow decision makers, and that was my goal in relaying that information to you here today. But as I said, this interaction had nothing to do with the merits of the application. And my legal advice to you all is that it not be given any weight because it does not relate to the substantive issues before you. So thank you for letting me do that. Certainly, if that raises any questions from anybody, I'm happy to address those. Thank you.
Yeah. If anyone does have any questions, I was contacted by Ms. Ruby because she had been contacted by the applicants, and I told her I could not discuss that with her, and I would discuss it with my city attorney and have the city attorney call her. If anyone's wondering, that's all that it was. And on a side note, we are going to have a work session in August on quasi-judicial hearings. Okay, yeah, we're going to have a work session. There was a really great session that I attended at the Colorado Municipal League Conference at the end of June. And so we're both going to have a work session update. I think this happens periodically with our planning and zoning and HBC commissions as well. But it's always good to have a refresher as well as open meeting laws. So we're going to try to make sure we're always on the straight and narrow, and that our public is as well. I get emails on things. I have to send them in that people have sent me personally, and I send them directly to Ben. Okay, so moving on.
All right.
Who gets to start?
I'll go ahead and introduce the item, and then Patrick is going to do his presentation first. But yeah, we are here tonight for the second reading of Ordinance 13, series of 2026, which is an ordinance for a proposed floor area variance, major subdivision amendment, and an amendment to a previous ordinance for property at 150 North 8th Street. So Patrick Raleigh is here tonight representing the property owners. We'll let him go first, and then I'll do the staff presentation when he's done.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening, all. For the record, again, Patrick Raleigh, Raleigh Design Planning. I'm here on behalf of William, Bill, and Lisa Guth for 150 North 8th Street. First of all, I'd like to start off and say thank you to staff. Staff did a very comprehensive staff memo, and they accurately portrayed the land use code. And that's what their job is. And we're here tonight to consider something a little bit beyond the land use code, and I think town council has a unique position to be able to do that. So I thank staff for their good work on their staff memo, and it was accurate, but I would like to try to bring something a little bit more beyond the land use code in this hearing. There's a delay. Come on now. See if there we go. So to review, this is the Shadow Mountain Townhomes. It's a 3-unit townhome constructed on a 9,000 square foot gross lot area. There are 3 units, 150 North 8th Street, which is the subject unit, 831 West Bleecker, which is a free market, and then an affordable housing unit that is located at 833. Sam, you had asked at the first reading about what the hardship is. The addition of the affordable housing unit in 2012, when the current triplex was created, imposed this 2,000 square foot net livable cap on all of the units. And at the time, so that essentially is the code, the application of the code has created this issue for the Guths in their ability to expand their unit. I think, as we'll discuss in this presentation, the background of that limit of unit size was a snapshot in time and fulfilling a particular need, and that this has kind of, our current proposal has been caught up in that unnecessarily. So it is the application of a code provision that limits the unit size, which is the hardship that we're seeking to overcome here in a variance. As we have discussed, this is truly, for Aspen, a truly missing middle development. This is not a dense, affordable housing development, nor is it a large single family. This is a housing for people that live and work in the community. So, this is a type of development that really we should be trying to privilege and to seek out more opportunities to create. The applicants have lived in this house as their family has grown. Life is always uncertain. You don't know what you're going to get. So they need a little bit more space. And that's why we're here. It's a very modest expansion that will have limited impacts. And we're looking through this proposal to find ways to provide color to the community. If you walk around town, it can be a very jarring experience that there's not too many locals walking around, and this is a playground for a community that doesn't live here all the time. So we're looking to try to look for ways that families can come back to Aspen and live and work. This is just an existing conditions map of the site. You can see North 8th Street on the west with the alleyway and Bleecker. The Guth's unit is located here in the corner. The allowable floor area, as was pointed out in the staff memo, due to the density of the project, is 6,750 square feet. Approximately utilizing assessor's information and the information that we have on the subject unit, I calculate that we have approximately 6,000 square feet of what would be calculated as floor area. So I think we fit in with the neighborhood. People accept this. I think you saw that in public comment, that this is something that fits nicely and is not creating any issues to the compatibility or enjoyment of the rest of the neighborhood. So back in 2012, a dimensional variance was granted based on existing conditions. This was an existing duplex that added the affordable housing unit, and we were over the maximum net livable at that time because of this code provision from 2007. But at the time, it was deliberated, and the council said, let's memorialize the existing conditions, and because this is creating an affordable housing unit, let's grant a variance for the maximum net livable. Ironically, this is really the same situation that we have today. We have existing conditions and we have an affordable housing, and we're seeking a variance very similar to what happened in 2012. There is this, here is the basement area, and this is the area that is currently crawl space that I've highlighted in blue that will be converted over to use for the family. Here's a blow-up of it. You can see that this will contain a laundry room, really high-end things like storage, a play area, and then we still will have mechanical space down in the basement. So this is a fully subgrade, floor area neutral expansion and is in an existing area of crawl space. This is the view. You can see this is kind of 8th Street from the corner of the alleyway. There's dense trees. It's difficult to see the house because of the fences there. Oops. And then the image on the right is actually where the basement can be dug out. Again, it would be a very minimal intrusion to the existing house, and that's where all of the activity would occur. Here's the area in question. It's an existing crawl space, probably slightly less than 5'6" head height, but is fully within the footprint of the existing building. It's there today and can be rather easily converted to a habitable living area. So this is a variance request. We are asking for a variance from the underlying zone district that limits the cap, or that puts a cap on the unit size. And as I've provided, resolution number 9 of 2012, series of 2012, approved the original variance as it ultimately provided for an affordable housing unit. That is the case today. We still have an affordable housing, and the Guths and the other unit owner support that continued affordable housing use. The variance, as I pointed out, did acknowledge the existing conditions. You had an existing building that had a certain size and a certain footprint. And the crawl space has really been always a part of that. I don't know why they didn't include the crawl space as a livable area at the time to capture that, but we're not creating any new impact or new footprint to this building. It's simply finishing interior space that already exists. And as I pointed out, it would be completely floor area neutral and really invisible to the outside world. As I've provided before as well, the reasoning that the P&Z had in 2012 really remains the same today. They allowed the unit to exceed the net livable cap, acknowledging the existing conditions and ensuring that the affordable housing development, housing unit could be developed. A variance that was to support locals in 2012 will continue to do so in 2026 if you approve. Here are the criteria for the variance request. The black is the black text is the code, and the green is our response to that. So a grant of a variance will generally be consistent with the purposes, goals, objectives, and policies of the title and the municipal code. So this expansion and variance request would support locals. You have a family living and working here. It would help create community by keeping people in the central core of Aspen, something that is lacking currently and is diminishing by the day. And of course, as I've said numerous times, it supports the affordable housing unit. So we think we meet those purpose goals and objectives and policies.
Are you saying that this is going to be deed restricted in some form to support affordable housing?
Of course I'm not. I'm saying that the affordable housing unit that is currently deed restricted will be supported.
Will continue to remain. Was there ever an effort to remove that unit?
Of course not, no.
Okay, thank you.
The second criteria is the grant of variance is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the parcel, building, or structure. Here's a couple of interesting words that we can parse out. The minimum variance, again, we're not expanding the footprint or creating new impacts. There's a family that lives there, roughly the same amount of lighting and water will be used, so nothing will be changed. And I think the question is, what is reasonable use and who defines reasonable use? Is it the city's role to say that a family can't have additional square footage? Or is it a reasonable use that does that mean that you're not going to extraordinary means to create this variance, that it's something that is within essentially the confines of what we have today? And that's what I think we find. Number 3 is the literal interpretation and enforcement of the terms and provisions of this title would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by the other parcels in the same zone district and would cause the applicant unnecessary hardship as distinguished from mere convenience. So we'll get into this, but the unit cap was intended for a true multifamily development. I think that's why we use the metric of a net livable space. The idea was that somebody would come in and utilize the density or the a density allowance that would create more FIR and develop a really large unit with 3 or 4 very tiny units. So the code was intended, I think, to counteract that. So applying it to this particular case where you have a duplex that added an affordable housing unit that kicked us into this multi-unit cap is an unnecessary hardship, and it penalizes the creation of affordable housing units elsewhere. There could be other duplexes in the residential multifamily zone district, which are two aspects of large zoning in the city, that may want to come in and create an affordable housing unit with their duplex, but they would read this and they say, well, we couldn't expand beyond 2,000 square feet, so that might chill their ability to want to do that. And then I think thirdly, the unnecessary hardship is if you can't expand this structure in the very minimal, intrusive way that we have proposed here, the applicants may be forced to go look for housing someplace else. And what does that look like? Does that go to resident-occupied housing? Does it go to Snowmass or to Down Valley? The fact of the matter is that the community loses because you have a very community-minded family and others who will most likely be community-minded families living and working in the city of Aspen. And that also is a loss for the city, because I think the feel and approach of the city will be different when families are not here. Community requires families. So in determining whether an applicant's rights would be deprived, the board shall consider whether either of the following conditions apply. There are special conditions or circumstances which are unique to the parcel, building or structure which are not applicable to other parcels, structures, or buildings in the same zone district, and which do not result in the action of the applicant. The reconfiguration of the development provided for the affordable housing unit, but left an area that can easily be utilized. So you have a very unique set of circumstances here where you have a crawl space within the footprint that can simply be changed quickly. So I think it's a very unique situation for a variance. Granting the variance will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege denied by the terms of this title and the municipal code to other parcels, buildings, or structures in the same zone district. We feel, and that's why I introduced the concept, and we'll talk about it, of a possible code amendment, that this should be granted to all duplexes wishing to create an affordable housing unit.
We are not here to discuss a code amendment.
But
We were very clear about that at the last meeting. This is a variance request. And if you would like to provide and move forward with a code amendment, that's a separate process and application.
It's not necessarily.
The work, should it succeed, perhaps others would like to take up, but this is not a code amendment hearing.
It is.
A code amendment would go through our planning and zoning
May
first.
I please finish my
I'm sorry, I was
presentation?
afraid this was going to come forward again.
But it is part and parcel of the code. The code imposes the hardship of the limitation of the unit
What you
size.
defined as a hardship,
That's why I'm here to
Thank you.
present a variance.
but we are not talking about a code change.
Going back to the unit cap, a little bit of a history lesson here is the maximum unit cap, and this is an excerpt exactly from a staff memo, that the maximum unit cap for properties in the residential multifamily zone district was established to ensure that properties benefiting from additional density, height, and floor area allowances granted to multifamily properties were not being utilized to focus additional development allowances simply to make larger units. That's why the cap was put in place. That's what I alluded to earlier. So when you have certain density on a parcel, you get additional floor area. For instance, on a 9,000 square foot lot, with the density that we have here, we have the availability of 6,750 square feet. What was being talked about at that time was that the council was concerned that people were going to go in and utilize all of that 6,750, for instance, for one Mondo big unit, and then have smaller units that were going to be of lesser quality. So in that sense, it does make sense that for a true multifamily development with multiple units, that you would have this type of unit cap. But it doesn't necessarily apply cleanly to a duplex that created an affordable housing unit that kicked us into this multifamily unit cap. The limit was meant to keep existing development and avoid replacement with new single-family or hugely outsized individual units. I was here, I remember when that occurred, and that was a big topic. But this current requested variance does not imperil these goals. The residential multifamily zone district cap on net livable needs to be reconsidered when an affordable housing unit is created. Including subgrade space in a net livable area calculations when affordable housing unit is provided creates a hardship for property owners. We need to capitalize on any opportunities that we have to create housing for locals and to keep people, locals, families within the core. And what that does then is prevent, additional housing being needed elsewhere. So let's densify within the core and utilize what we have. We don't disagree, as I just said, keep a cap on multi-story, multi-unit developments where the net livable metric makes sense and impacts are much more visible, as I've described. And the cap imperils the balance between community and resort, where when development is a duplex with affordable housing. Again, it's all about what is this balance of community and resort. Families are needed. We're not just a playground, we're also where people live and work. It harms the possibility for more missing middle housing opportunities. As I said, there may be others out there with a duplex that have considered adding an affordable housing unit, but they won't do it because this cap is in place. It further increases hurdles for local residents to stay in their homes. It probably pushes people to make illegal additions in their basement. And I should point out that the Goose are here fully transparently seeking to do this the correct way. And so let's just look at a more common sense adjustment that will be available to all. And unfortunately, that is through some type of modification to the code of how this is applied. Because we certainly are seeking a variance here. I am not advocating for a code amendment, but I think it should be appropriate that everyone has this ability to develop a duplex with an affordable housing and not be limited to the net livable cap. A couple of things to point out is if you change this doesn't change, if you change how the net livable cap is applied, it doesn't modify how affordable housing mitigation is provided. This space that is proposed to be added would be mitigatable space, and the Goose are happy to pay the applicable rate. And as I've said numerous times, may support additional development of affordable housing. I think a couple of things to consider the expansion must be a floor area neutral. You have to be within your floor area boundaries, ensuring that that development is by code. And subgrade basements should be limited to 1 story, which is provided already in the land use code. So we've talked about the hazards that are created.
We're not talking about a potential code amendment. We are talking about this variation. If you want to erase that top line and then tell us these are the reasons to approve this,
you can erase the
that's fine.
top line in your heads. It fulfills what this variance would do, and it's indistinguishable from a code amendment or my variance request, is that it fulfills the intent of the Aspen Area Community Plan as contained in Ordinance number 9. And these are directly from Ordinance number 9, which was focusing development into already developed areas. We have that here. We want to retain existing units. This will be a very important aspect of housing in Aspen. We want to allow existing units to be improved without impacts to neighbors. I think that can be met. We want to preserve housing opportunities for locals. We want to emphasize quality, not quantity. And I think that is here. This is not an ostentatious expansion. This is a very quiet, minimal use of existing space. We want to seek that balance between community and resort. Again, the community needs families. It needs people living here on a full-time basis. And I think that ultimately supports the long-term sustainability of the community. We don't think, I'll go over this for sake of irritating you.
Thank you.
Here's just some things I think that we should always remember. The realities of Aspen is some demographic information. We have total families compared to Aspen, Basalt, and Carbondale. You have 38% of the population has families. Basalt has 61, Carbondale 59. Households with children, you're at 14.2, where Basalt has 25.2 and Carbondale has 22.7. So we're clearly lacking with a community with children and families. And you can see that there's further supported by the percentage of children under the age of 19 or under the age of 18. Again, Aspen is behind that and compared to what Basalt and Carbondale is doing. Student numbers at the Aspen School District are falling. Aspen isn't an easy place to raise a family, but families are needed for this community. So here's a couple of snippets from an article at the end of the last year that kind of just, I think, puts a fine point on what the issues are facing the demographics of Aspen and the lack of children in the community. We've had, as we talked about, and thank you for clarifying some of the public comment, but the immediate neighbors support this proposed variance. I won't go through all of these. There were actually a number of very positive emails where everybody supported. Yes.
A nice set.
Great, thank you very much. And I think people that speaks to the minimal impact that they have, the understanding that what this is, and the importance that families represent to our community. So I think this is a common sense. We've talked about that. It's not straight down the middle of the road on a code application, but there are opportunities and needs for various common sense variances to be granted. This isn't impactful. It's not ostentatious. It's supported by the neighbors, as we just said. It won't increase traffic or demands on service. I know staff said that, and yes, you could say that there's additional space, but it's very minimal. Same one family is going to be living here that lives there today, so it's not going to be a huge impact. And actually, keeping people in the core is going to reduce traffic impacts. I think it will encourage the creation of additional affordable housing if you don't have this looming over you, if you have a duplex and want to create some additional affordable housing. It should and can be available to all. And it will help Aspen stay a living, evolving, and healthy community by allowing these very targeted and meaningful expansions to occur. So that is the end of my presentation, but Lisa Guth is here, and she has a few words that she would like to share with the council. So, Lisa?
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
Before I start, I want to say something that tonight I'm coming before you as a human being, a mother, talking about her family. Instead of if I become emotional, when I become emotional, it's because this is really personal. It's personal to me, it's personal to my kids, to our family. I'm talking about my children, my home, and the community where we've really built our lives. I know each of you comes to this hearing with your own perspectives, and I just ask for the next few minutes you listen with an open mind and an open heart. Thank you. Mayor and council members, thank you for hearing us today. Before coming here, so many people in this community told us not to do this, that everything is about rules and technicalities, and there's just no room for the human side of our story. And as you can see, we keep coming back because I am choosing to not believe them. I believe that each of you ran for this office because you care deeply about Aspen and its community and the people who call it home. So I'm asking you today to show us that there is room for both good policy and for compassion. I'm not asking you to see an application. I'm asking for you to look at us as a family. My husband, Bill, and I bought our home years ago when housing was more attainable and before we had children. At the time, We could not have even imagined what our family would one day look like. 3 kids, a dog, busy schedules, friends constantly coming in our door, and a home that slowly filled with life. This is the only home that our children have ever known. Every one of them came home from the hospital to this home. They've taken their first steps in this home. They've celebrated their birthdays here, and they've made friendships here. This isn't just our house, it's our home. And our neighborhood, more importantly, is part of our home. We know our neighbors. You had a lot of comments. We have some to support us. We stop, we talk, we hang out in the streets. The neighborhood kids all play together. And the high school student who now babysits our kids, we used to take care of when she was our kid's age. And that is what a community looks like. It's generations looking after one another. It's knowing your neighbors, and it's children growing up together. And that's the Aspen that we know and love. And that's why we're here, and that's why we want to stay here. We understand this restriction was put in place. We do respect its purpose, but every rule should also leave room to be considered for the people standing in front of you. We're asking for the opportunity to finish our existing crawl space so that our family can live more comfortably. We're not asking to change the character of our neighborhood. We're not asking to build something that doesn't belong in our neighborhood. We're simply asking for a way to make the home that we already love and continue to work for our family that already lives in it. We simply need a little bit more space as our family has grown. When I walk and look around Aspen, I see beautiful homes. We all do, as Patrick said, but I see fewer year-round neighbors, fewer children growing up together, and more homes are sitting empty for most of the year. Aspen has always been special because of its people and not because of the sizes of its homes. A community should not be defined by its buildings. It's defined by the families who fill them with life. I know our family isn't the only one facing these challenges, and there are so many other local families who simply want the chance, bless you, to stay in the community that they love. And every time one of those families feels that they have no choice but to leave, Aspen loses something that will never be replaced. This request is not about luxury. It's not about maximizing value. It's not about profit. It's about making our family home work for our family. Council member Sam asked whether we intend to sell our home. And the answer is no. We have no intention of renovating to maximize resale value. We want to raise our children here in this community. We want to continue to be a part of this neighborhood and this community for many, many years to come. We are aware that questions have been raised about our intentions. One concern I think we talked about was that this application was part of a plan for us to leave the neighborhood and move into the West End. Ironically, we already live in the West End, and our goal has always been the opposite, to just remain in our home. I reached out personally to better understand that concern, and it turned out to be based on a misunderstanding. And once we spoke, the concern was resolved, and she no longer, what I understood as an opposition, she no longer opposed our application. We also made a very intentional decision throughout this process. We could have asked friends and colleagues and community members from across Aspen to submit letters of support. But instead, we really limited our outreach to our immediate neighbors, both in free market homes and affordable housing, because we believe that their voices mattered the most of anybody. These are the people who know us. These are the people who live beside us, and these are the people who will be most directly affected by this request. And their support has meant a great deal to us, and we're very grateful that they chose to share it with you, as you said, you saw. So I'm not here asking for special treatment. I'm asking for your guidance. Help us to find a way to make this work. Please don't let this and our community become us versus them. We are not your opponents. We are your neighbors. We're asking you to remember why the policy exists in the first place, to serve the people who make Aspen a community. And today, you have the opportunity to do more than just decide an application that's sitting in front of you. You have the opportunity to send a message about the kind of Aspen that we want to be, that you want to be, a place where local families are told, we want you here, a place where compassion and common sense can exist alongside good policy, a place where neighbors help neighbors stay, a community where we're willing to work together to help local families remain part of the fabric of Aspen. Every one of our children came home from the hospital to this house. I'm simply asking you to please make sure they can continue to come home here. Because once the local families are gone, we do not get them back. And we want to stay. Please don't let this story end with us selling this home to a second homeowner. Help us find a way to keep one more local family in Aspen, because a community only lasts if the people who built it and continue to invest in it are able to stay. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and for seeing us not as just an application, but as a family and a local family. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very moving. Is that the end of your?
That is the end of our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions. I know Dan has his presentation, but
Okay.
we're
Well,
here
let's
to
hear Dan's presentation and then go forward with questions from either party.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Again, my name is Dan Folk, Planning Director. I am presenting the staff recommendation on this variance request at 150 North 8th Street. As you probably know, Jeffrey Barnhill actually did all of the work on this. He prepared the staff report and all the attachments. Jeff's out of town, so I'm filling in again. I did the first reading, but I do want to give credit to Jeff for all of his work on this. Just to summarize the request, it is a request primarily for a variance to allow 4,471 square feet of net livable area within the residential multifamily zone where 2,000 square feet are permitted. If the variance is approved, the subdivision also needs to be amended. We've not talked about this too much, but back in, I think, 2012, when the first variance was approved, there was a subdivision that ran with it, and it's got very specific square footage allotments for these units. And so that would need to be amended should the variance be approved. I think you're familiar with the neighborhood. Patrick's done a great job of showing you that. It is a 9,000 square foot lot, an existing triplex. We consider it a triplex. It's 3 units. One is permanently deed restricted. It is in the RMF, Residential Multi-Zone District. And if you look around, let's see if I can do this here. Turn this into a pointer. So you can really see from this aerial that there really is a variety of residential multifamily unit types. You can see these are kind of aligned townhomes. You've got the triplex here, some more kind of traditional multifamily buildings that might be condominiums. So it is a nice mix of multifamily unit types. You've seen this as well. This is a floor plan of the existing basement, approximately 734 square feet. And then the proposal to expand into the crawl space. Again, Patrick's gone over what those improvements would include. Here's a little summary and some more background. So again, in 2012, this duplex was approved to allow a 3rd unit. These were the unit sizes prior to that addition. Unit A was reduced slightly from 3,157 square feet down to 2,952 of livable area. Again, there was a variance to allow the 2,000, a unit to exceed 2,000 square feet. Unit B was approved to go up to that, and then the affordable housing unit is about 400 square feet. This was in Jeff's staff report, and it's a snippet from that 2012 staff report. And again, part of it is just to show, I think staff has been consistent on this. Staff did not support the variance back in 2012, even with the addition of the affordable housing unit, and I think we've been consistent. So sometimes we're accused of not being consistent, so I was impressed that
Never.
10 years later.
Never.
Yeah, that's good. You had a series of questions for us from the first reading, and Jeff did a great job putting that in the staff report. Before I get into the findings, I just did want to kind of go over some of those questions that, and as they were provided in the staff report, and see if you had any other questions. One of them was, why is there a 2,000 square foot unit size in the residential multifamily zone? So this was established back in 2007. There were multiple zone districts that had unit caps. It wasn't just this RMF district. It was an outcome of the 2006 moratorium. There's quite a bit of information in the staff report about that. We do believe that this district was certainly calibrated to encourage multifamily buildings and multifamily units. One of the reasons we come to that conclusion is that if you're building a new single-family home, or what we call a detached unit, you're limited to 80% of the floor area that you would find in that R6 single-family zone. So again, that's kind of a disincentive to do a single-family unit. And as Patrick had said, as you get more density, more units per acre, you're actually allotted more square footage. And that kind of makes sense, because more units, you'd think more square footage, but it's also, I think, an incentive, again, to develop multifamily units. So again, we believe that zone incentivizes density in multifamily units. We had a question about crawl spaces. Why do we have crawl spaces, and what are they used for? Again, a crawl space is not necessarily required in a residential unit. They are typically used for access to your mechanicals. You might place your mechanicals in the crawl space. You could use it for storage. We don't typically count crawl space as part of your improved square footage. We have some standards. There's limitations as to how tall it can be and some other things. But again, it's an exclusion from your livable square footage typically. And so they do serve a real purpose. They're not required for a house. I talked with Dennis about this, so he's our expert in the building department. Crawl spaces. Yes, about crawl spaces. He sent me some info on crawl spaces. There was a question about differences in the square footage from the 2012 approval to what's being presented tonight. Again, the footprint of the home has not changed. I think it's really just about the math of what was included in different calculations over time. You can see sometimes the stairway and the mechanical isn't included, other times it is. And so I think it's just about how it was being measured. There's nothing untoward about it. The question about long-term occupancy, that was a question for the applicant. That's been addressed tonight. And then there was a question about what does APSHA require for minimum unit sizes on deed-restricted units? And so we gave you the full range in the staff report, but here, just a sample. A studio has to be a minimum of 500 square feet. A three-bedroom would be 1,200 square feet. And then if you have a single-family detached, the minimum is 1,500 square feet. I'm not sure if they really have maximums, but again, that would be really our zoning code is what would define the maximum size of these units and these buildings. So were there any other questions about this information before we go into the criteria?
I did have one question, and you can see I've got paperwork kind of spread around because there's old history, new history, and a lot of letters of comment. During this process in 2012, and you were not the applicants, you weren't there at the time, but you later purchased the home. It seemed there was some discussion about, well, if you want to add this affordable housing unit, you can take down these other homes, because it was kind of a single-family home that or a duplex rather, that other projects developed around. And that would have been a cure, or you can do this affordable housing unit and acknowledge and be in the multifamily zone district rather than a single family type of zone. Is that accurate? I'm not describing it very technically, I'm sure.
I think it's a fair question. You know, I think there was a duplex here. My understanding was R6 zone district. There was a rezone to RMF to accommodate a couple of things, to accommodate a third unit and to give additional floor area to the addition of the, if you go back a few slides, Dan, I don't know that you need to, but there was discussion about what the existing floor area was and what it becomes following the 2012 approval. And there's, you know, a fairly significant increase in the total amount of floor area that was on the property, and that was the allowance in the RMF and the addition of the affordable housing unit. You know, there's other paths that this could have taken at the time. You can do a duplex and do accessory dwelling units to create affordable housing units. And I think just because of the desires at the time and the unit sizes that were there and the way that it worked on the property, you know, there was this move to residential multifamily.
So it was once RM6, and then they moved on purpose. That was the decision of the prior landowner of the whole project.
That's my understanding of what the trajectory was.
Okay. Thank you.
And with that then came the limitations of the RMF zone district on the property and the outcomes of that specific ordinance.
Thank you.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, please.
Could this be reverted to a duplex with an accessory dwelling unit?
It would be significantly non-conforming in terms of floor area.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
All right, I'll proceed then if you're ready. So we're going to go through the criteria as well. Patrick read this too, but I think I'm going to read parts of it as well. So the standards applicable to variances, there's a full analysis in your packet. It's one of the attachments, and so there's a pretty extensive analysis provided on the record. In order to authorize a variance, the appropriate decision-making body shall make a finding that the following three circumstances exist. So the first is that the grant of the variance is generally consistent with purposes, goals, objectives, and policies of this title and municipal code. The things we've called out is that the RMF zone limits unit size to achieve a higher density, and that increases, approving the variance would increase the non-conforming floor area. It kind of raises the question, if a variance is approved, is it really non-conforming? You could take a side on either one, but that's essentially what we've provided in the staff analysis. I think you could make findings on either way on number one, frankly. Number two, the grant of the variance is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the parcel, building, or structure. Staff's position is that reasonable use exists. The current unit exceeds allowable size by 1,400 square feet. The proposal would more than double the maximum 2,000 square foot unit size, which is allowed in the zone. So again, staff's position is that this finding is not met, that there is reasonable use already established. And those are generally around what the zone district allows. That's how reasonable is defined. The next is that the literal interpretation and enforcement of the terms and provisions of this title would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other parcels in the same zone district and would cause the applicant unnecessary hardship as distinguished from mere inconvenience. In determining whether an applicant's rights would be deprived, the board shall consider whether either of the following conditions apply. A, there are special conditions and circumstances which are unique to the parcel, building, or structure, which are not applicable to other parcels, structures, or buildings in the same zone district, and which do not result from the actions of the applicant. So staff's position is that there are no special conditions or circumstances unique to the property that are preventing full use and enjoyment of the property. The idea that the square footage cap is the hardship, I guess, would be applicable to everybody in that zone district. It's not unique to this property. That was the applicant's position. So again, we don't find any special condition or circumstance unique. And really what this finding is about is typically, you'll see more variance requests for things like setbacks. So there may be some physical limitation to the property, either where buildings have been built or topography, and you may need relief, you know, from a setback, and that's typically the special condition or circumstance where you would give some relief because it's reasonable to have a garage, it's reasonable to have an outdoor patio, things like that. The second part of this is that granting the variance will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege denied by the terms of this title and the municipal code to other parcels, buildings, or structures in the same zone district. Granting the variance will confer special privileges not enjoyed by others in the same zone district. I mean, essentially, it provides double the square footage of net livable area. And so staff's finding is that, again, it doesn't meet this criteria. And that, again, if, in this regard, I would agree with the applicant that if you feel the current zone district does not accommodate what we're trying to accomplish, then I think the appropriate path is to amend the zone district rather than an individual variance. This is included in the analysis as well. Again, if the variance is approved, we need to amend the subdivision. We're citing a couple standards here for the subdivision that you can't increase nonconformities, and that you have to be in general compliance with the standards of the code. I do want to talk a little bit about missing middle housing. Patrick talked quite a bit about it at the first reading, and it was mentioned a little bit tonight. I mean, our position is that this zone district does accommodate missing middle housing. We do not believe the zone district needs to be amended to accommodate missing middle housing. What is missing middle housing? Well, it seeks compatible infill housing in lower density neighborhoods. The current term of preference is gentle density, if you've heard of that. The idea is you preserve the building forms found in the neighborhood. And so in this, where you've got, two-story buildings, you would, provide more density in similar forms. In that regard, I think this triplex is missing middle in that it's got a form that's very compatible with the surrounding area. So the trend is to allow duplexes and triplexes in single-family neighborhoods. Again, just having smaller units in single-family forms. If you're in a mid-rise neighborhood, this is not this neighborhood, but if you're in a place where you have 3- and 5-story, you're going to promote, I should say you want to promote 3- and 5-story buildings in mixed-use neighborhoods. That's another form of missing middle housing. So our position is that this district does promote missing middle housing, and that's evidenced by the idea that you get increased floor area as your density increases against an incentive to provide units. And then there's a decreased floor area for new detached single-family homes. So again, it's kind of discouraging detached single-family homes. And then having a 2,000 square foot cap on multifamily units, it really is a primary strategy to promote more density. That's really what it's about.
And I just so I have the date right, that the year this code was adopted was after a moratorium in 2009?
Six.
Was that 2006?
The code was adopted in 2007, following the moratorium of 2006.
There's a lot of dates going around. Okay, thank you for that.
I hardly remember what today's date is.
So that's my lesson on missing middle housing. In summary, the property currently includes 3,471 square feet of net livable area. The proposal would increase that to 4,400 square feet. Again, the 2,000 square foot cap on unit sizes does promote additional units. That was established in 2007. Variances are intended to relieve a hardship that prevents use of the property as enjoyed by others in the same district. So this again speaks to the idea, do they have reasonable use of the property? It's our position that they do, that there is no hardship that's preventing them from enjoying that property as others enjoy it. So the staff recommendation is to deny the request for the variance in this RMF district. This did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation. They approved a resolution which was written as a denial, so they also recommended denial.
With 2 abstentions.
Yeah, I didn't get into the vote. It was denied. I don't know what the vote was.
There were 2 abstentions.
There were 2 abstentions, yeah, which is unusual.
It's important for us.
It was
4-0.
4-0.
4-0 with 2 abstaining.
And 2 abstained, yeah.
And then
That were present in the room.
I've never heard of people abstaining, but that's another
That's
issue.
that's why I bring it up.
Either
yeah.
you're recused or you vote. So we've talked about public comment. There were a majority of public comment in support of the request, and there were 1 or 2 maybe that were opposed, and maybe those have been amended. But we just wanted to recognize the public comment that's been shared. And then here's your 2 recommended motions. The ordinance is written for approval. And so if you want to approve the variance, you just approve the ordinance as written. If you want to deny it, it would be I move to deny the ordinance as shown here.
Yeah, well, we'll check in with the city attorney when we get to that point of the discussion. So,
So that's all I have for you tonight.
That's all you have. Thank you so much. Council members, questions of either applicant? No. Anyone?
No questions.
Okay. I guess I'll give you a shot at this question. How can the permanency of the affordability be assured that this will sell to a family in the future? And I'm not saying you're trying to sell now. I'm just saying we deal with Aspen today in this generation, but our decisions were for generation after generation. And I'm just kind of wondering, there's really no mechanism that says you're not asking for resident occupied designation. This in the future could become a second home. Whoever wants to answer, but again, I'm not talking about your ownership and your time period.
I mean,
But when it goes up another 1,000 square feet, how do you assure that because you've made a lot of promises about children and families, and what does that look like 30 years from now?
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of that. I don't know if any of you have 3 children or have been in a home with 3 children, and it's very busy and it's very chaotic. So by allowing this space is actually providing a home for another family. And it's saying that, you know, we have adequate space for another family to move in here, whereas a lot of second homeowners, they want to be closer to the core. They want to be closer to the walking distance. They don't care about a play area. They don't care about that extra space because they probably don't need it. But we are a family who is in a position saying our family is here to tell you we're living on top of each other.
Saying the size of the home will be what accomplishes that. I mean, I've just gone very carefully through the memo you submitted to us, Patrick, and as I understand it, this home was purchased for $3.5 million. Was that the property tax record that you put in your packet for us?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There was something in the packet that was the Pickens County's assessors.
Well, that's
and it said the home was
a
purchased.
standard piece of land use application that is providing the legal description of it, and that contains assessor information.
Yeah, and it did, and it said that this whole home in 2015 sold for $3.5 million at its current size, and that was pre-pandemic. That was 11 years ago. So I'm still trying to square that mentally with what the missing middle is.
Well,
that a new family would really be able to afford, not the current situation and the need for space. I got that down. Okay.
If I may, that is, as I pointed out, that's the missing middle for Aspen. This is the market this is free market. The market sets those rates because of, as I provided at the first reading, policies that come from the city that seem to privilege larger homes that drives really the cost of the market up. I think a counter to what you're alluding to is it's the character of the unit that is the space that is being provided. If we were providing a large garden room in the back or a porte cochere in the front for, a gracious entrance or something like that, maybe it's a different conversation. This is fully subgrade windowless space that is going to be utilized as very much laundry space. It's not an attractive addition for someone who is seeking a fantastic Aspen home.
And I understand you're making architectural differences. We are certainly a unique market for individual taste. Again, just reading through the materials you provided to us with the condo association decks, it gets down to item 29.13, which was put in place so that there's a mutual understanding among all the homeowners and Mr. Klein and purchasers in the future and the affordable, that allocation of floor area in the event that there is available floor area regulated under the Aspen Municipal Code that can be constructed that is in excess of the floor area contained in the building as of the date of the recording of this declaration, such available floor area will be added to each unit, essentially. And what I gather from this is that when Mr. Klein decided to build an affordable housing unit and move this forward and went through that in 2012, when this house sold in 2015, it was because there was a restriction on the floor area, that it was already limited. That might be why it satisfied you were able to buy it for only $3.5 million, and it wasn't a 4,500 square foot home or a home that could just add another 1,500. It was like this restriction was in place and was known at the time. And so maybe that restriction in size is part of what kept that in the missing middle.
But you're conflating two different metrics, and this is kind of the heart of the matter. Floor area is above grade development. Okay, that's subgrade space is excluded the percentage that it is, or it counts the percentage that it's exposed above grade. The net livable number, that's where this whole confusion maybe, is focused on, is it's introducing a net livable metric, which doesn't necessarily square with this type of development. You're talking, that provision of the decks is limiting floor area, which is above grade, has impact to what the visibility or what the above grade units look like, and may create impacts to their adjacent adjacent owners. But this is the net livable is including this basement subgrade space. So they're two different things. And by the way, I should point out that Mr. Klein is very much in support of this proposal and has no issues with the expansion of subgrade
I've read his letter.
Space.
And I appreciate that, but I'm just saying that there was in some level why this home was able to be sold for a certain amount because of its size and its limitation to that size. And you're asking, although I know that's not the desire or reason of why the applicants are pursuing this, it's just simply to note that the size limitation made it available to someone for the missing middle. And we're kind of asked to change that. Those are my questions. Did anybody else have any questions they wanted to ask at this point? Because otherwise we can open the public comment. All right. Let's open the public comment. We have a very patient gentleman over here and a woman in the back as well. So please come forward, simply identify yourself for the record, Rabbi, and then try to limit your comments to about 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know how you do this. I'm only here for 2 hours and I need therapy.
And your name.
Oh. I am Mendel Mintz. I'm the rabbi and founder and director of the Aspen Jewish Community Center on Main Street. I think I know everyone or most of you, so it is good to be here. I was thinking maybe I had a little PTSD because since my application 15 years ago, I haven't been back. But it's good to be here. I'm here because on my own initiative, the Guths did not ask me to come. I met Lisa sometime after the hearing, whenever that was, months ago or weeks ago, I don't know, and heard about it. I wanted to come because I felt it's important for the community in so many ways. So as someone who has worked on and spent the last 26 years trying to serve and assist families in the community, I want to share a perspective from the ground level or from how I see things. We work with hundreds of local families year-round through our preschool, after-school activities, all kinds of programs, dinners, lectures, seminars, camp for 7 weeks every summer. We have 80 kids every single day in the building. And it really is a privilege and an honor to serve this community and serve so many families in Aspen. And every year, unfortunately, more and more of young families, meaning parents with young children, are leaving the community. Families who are participating in our programs in the preschool, those who are there with us are leaving. And it's not just the loss of students or a couple of families here and there, it's the loss of our neighbors. People who are active volunteers, community members, friendships. And just this summer alone, at the end of May when the school year ended, 2 families who were in the preschool unfortunately said they're not coming back because of the inability to just live here in Aspen. One is moving out of state and one down valley. And while I'm sure we'll get other kids, or I hope we'll get other kids to fill those spots, it really really is heartbreaking. And we invest tremendous time, effort, energy, resources in creating programs to try to attract and keep young families here. So, anything council can do, obviously, to help accommodate and build and strengthen our community is vital and very important. And I don't know much about the project or this, what exactly the family's asking, all the details. It doesn't seem too dramatic, but I'm hoping you can see the bigger picture and what it would do and help the community as a whole. So do what you can and help us keep, young families here, keeping Aspen vibrant, and hopefully our community stays strong for many years to come. And these children here today will be our future core for the next generation and generations to come. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and only good things.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking the time and your comments. Additional public comment, Barb? And you were under 3 minutes.
Used to it, I give service.
Thank you. Barb Pitchford, thank you for going through this tedious process and listening to them. I completely agree with the rabbi. And I'm a neighbor. I live at 100 North 8th Street. I live across the street. We have a fabulous neighborhood. It's very vibrant. It's very vital. I learned some new things here. That we've got new language, like missing middle. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. It's, if you could just come to the end of Main Street and on any afternoon, there's, seniors, retired, it's affordable housing, it's, regular housing, free market housing. And I was here when Herbie Klein, went through the process. I was their neighbor. And it's a neighborhood that is actually lived in and enjoyed, and the Goose are very much a part of it. So I understand, no, I don't understand land use code. I'm sorry, I don't. And I don't understand zoning. Even though I spent 2 years on Pitkin County's land use revisions, I still don't understand it. And I understand why we have it, and I respect it. But variances are for a reason. And I think this exception to support the Goose, it's below grade. It's already there. It's simply a crawl space made into a basement. I understand the code, and I appreciate Dan and everybody explaining it. But at some point, I think it's just common sense. This is a fabulous neighborhood, a great contributing family that is part of our community. It seems, if you look at it from the code perspective, I can see why there's denial. If you look at it from simply practical perspective, I think it qualifies for an exception. I've sat on HPC, as you know, for many, many years. I see variations and variances, and I see people digging out basements to put in wine rooms and movie theaters, and they can do it, they can manipulate their way through there, and you know that these dug up basements are not going to be lived in. You know that it's not going to be a part, these people are not going to be a part of our community, but it's a huge, you just saw one tonight, the Blue House, Main Street. That's an enormous basement that's been approved because it follows all the guidelines of the land use. But that's not going to be a house that's lived in, I don't think. So I just don't, sometimes when I look at the practicality of these requests, it seems to, I can't say the word Trump, it seems to be more important than the actual words of the language in the code. So I urge you to make an exception for this family that lives here and contributes to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. I appreciate that. And appreciate your service on HPC.
Thank you.
Okay. I do not see any signs of anyone online, so I'm assuming there are no online comments. I do not see anyone else in the room who might want to offer public comment. So I think it's appropriate time to close the public comment period.
I would just note, Mayor Richards, I think Dan Folk placed before you some public comments that were received in the
Yes.
last few days, and I just want to make sure everybody's had a chance to review those.
We had an updated packet of things that have recently come in, and I read through and printed myself the ones that had come in the prior packets. And Dan provided the prior packet ones to us, even though we'd seen them in the prior packet.
And I just want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to
Everybody's
review
had a
those.
chance to read those, look through.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think I will close the public hearing. And I will say, I think, Sam, you expressed this at the last time we heard this one, that it's really hard to look at an application that's from a colleague who's not in the room, a family that we know, and things like that. That is challenging for all of us, and something like this comes up for all of us at some point that's very immediate and is very close. But I believe we are here to deal with the land use code as it is written. And I do look at our land use code as not a popularity contest, as opposed to what we want to do to shape the community for this generation, the next generation, the generations after that, as best as we're able to. And I think some of the past hearings we had, perhaps in Meadows is a good example of that. It's, there was a lot of comment against that for various reasons, and a lot of out-of-towners who were talking about, hey, it's a great thing. And we had to just look at the code and the ability to do right by the community and the community's interest. So I personally feel this is the same way. And what I look at as a variance is always a precedent. It's just a precedent for someone else to say we're similar enough. We're very much like that, so let us have it too. And I really don't know that Aspen should have try to pursue a missing middle that is so beyond any income. What we're not looking at is a chart of the demographic chart of the incomes that we saw with like the 1, 2, 3 housing study, where the vast majority of our workforce is in the lower 2s and 3s, and then there's some in the 4s and 5s, but we don't have too much missing middle up above that, what used to be, perhaps it is RO. And that's why resident occupied was created in the code. That's why you have a North 40, was to say, hey, this is something that the private sector can do. Private developers can include to make their pro forma work. This is a way to have a missing middle that is related to income. So for me, I really just cannot support this. I find the criteria that we have a planning and zoning commission that with 4-2, with 2 abstentions, but 4 opposed. And I ask citizen volunteers to give up a lot more time sometimes than we do, and for no pay, and maybe some sandwiches. And I respect their work, and I respect their logic, and I think they're finding that that we do not expand non-conforming structures, that this is a non-conformity. It was purchased as a non-conformity. It had limitations on its size as a nonconformity, and it may have even been why it was able to be marketed at that price and not a higher price, because it had limitations already put on it. And those were limitations that Herb Klein chose to put on this property before he ever met you, perhaps, before he ever sold it to you. And to ask to change those regulations now, I can't find it compelling. I just can't. And personally, I feel you're very compelling. But whoever accepted and created the move from an R6 to a residential multifamily did it to make their bargain at that time. And then now we're being asked to kind of up the bargain. I have a hard time finding it's a hardship to live to not remodel internally with what you already have on your different floors, perhaps even from just my own childhood, watching my parents split what was the master bedroom in our house in half and give it to the kids. So we had 5 kids. And having the brothers all slept in one room for quite a while. And I look at what we are building for affordable housing, size-wise, it's really hard to say that a unit of this size is a hardship, and that our codes have created it. This was a choice to buy a specific item and then wanting to change that. I do think it would potentially create a lot of requests that you may feel is great. I don't know that that is the new growth that we need within our community. So I find the staff work and the planning and zoning work and our planning staff kind of reviewing that we do not expand nonconformities. This is a nonconformity, and I can't find a hardship. Variance, one of the very major requirement is that there is a hardship, and that it's smaller than you'd like to live in. I think there's probably 80% of our population thinks they'd love to have a larger unit. It's hard to live in a small unit, whether it's at Hunter Creek or whether it's in another free market home. So I am just looking out to protect these items. The code did not create this issue. The people who chose to buy a home believe that's an issue, but that's separate. So I just cannot go forward, and I wanted to let that be on the table rather than the last thing that was being said. Other council members' comments and weigh in?
I'm happy to go.
Okay, Christine.
Sam has noted this is awkward. Rachel's noted this is uncomfortable, and I agree. Because of that, I'm going to stick to my notes and the code on this. You asked for a human plea, and to me, everyone in this community is a human and is treated that way. And because of that, we have a code, because we can't be a jury of character on every application that comes forward. I understand the common sense ask here and the simple request to transition an already existing space into one that's approved. And neighbors and the applicant are correct that it doesn't have a lot of construction impact, but it does have intangible impacts. It increases the value and the size of this home significantly, and it does so by asking for a variance on a code that was developed and approved by the community. Variances are granted when hardships can be proven, and I don't see that here. The code does not allow us to expand nonconformities. This already does. While approving this variance might seem benign to the neighborhood, I do agree with staff that it then questions the purpose of the code in general and why we even put these regulations in place. Because the criteria are not met, I will deny it tonight. If there is a reason to consider a code amendment to encourage affordable housing development in the future, I would consider it, but will not apply it to this application tonight.
Thank you. Very succinct. John, you can go next unless you, John.
All right, so the way I see this is simply asking, this request is for a variance on a variance. So I'm going to just read some quotes from our staff report. Quote, "The property owner already enjoys rights that are not commonly enjoyed by other property owners in the same zone district," unquote. Quote, "An approval of this request would raise serious questions about the city's ability to consistently regulate our built environment in an application of the land use code," unquote. I'd also have this in my notes, but I think it bears repeating that Planning and Zoning voted 4-0 to deny this with 2 abstentions. I agree with staff that this sets a dangerous precedent. This would allow everyone to challenge the maximum allowances in our code. And I don't think that's a good idea. And I do want to talk about the fact that Bill's put us in a really awkward position.
I have put you in an awkward position. I have, okay?
Let's make sure that's not.
Yeah, this is important to me and to my children. He is
Let
separate.
me rephrase that.
Happens to
Let me
be a part of this.
rephrase
This is
this.
from me.
Let me rephrase this. We have been put in an awkward position. The four of us are put in an awkward position. I kind of wish this request had been made when Bill was off council, then we wouldn't be in this awkward position. If we approve this tonight, the public could credibly accuse us of cronyism or being unethical, and they would be right. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Sam, you're up next.
Yeah. Lisa, I want to say I'm sorry because of, I think Christine said it most succinctly, because from like a human element, like I can totally get wanting to do what's best for you and your family. It's really tough up here, having sat on P&Z before and now on council, to have to hear applications and apply the code and try to even think about what lane that would be, and that's why I asked about the hardship. And if the hardship is the code itself, that is just not something that's we're able to deviate from. The hardship really needs to be something that's different than the code, not that the code's not allowing me to do something that I want to do. And I can admit that can be very unfortunate when you feel so strongly, and this is about how deeply personal it is for you and your family. It is very difficult. Again, Christine talked about code amendment, sort of regulation potentially down the line to try to help in situations like this. But as far as the way I feel about this is that I feel like our hands are tied as a council, because, like I said, we're basing this off of there needing to be a hardship, and the hardship just cannot be the code alone, per se.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Yeah, this is not easy for any of us. No, we're not going to take another comment until we're finished speaking. Patrick?
Okay, I just would like to say one word, but thank you.
Okay, why don't you go ahead then?
Well, I appreciate all of your comments, and I understand that this is a difficult situation for you. It really shouldn't be, but because we want to bring this out and we don't want to make this exclusively about this family, the code amendment would broaden it out, and staff can correct me, but council has to direct staff to pursue a code amendment. And I think a code amendment that is very narrow, that, as I've discussed previously, that seeks to alleviate duplexes that are creating affordable housing units from this unit cap. It can simply be a few words added, unless if the third unit is a affordable housing unit or something like that. So I would just ask that you would provide some direction to staff whether or not we can pursue this and open it up to a broader community.
Yeah, I appreciate that comment, but I'm not going to certainly have us discuss it tonight.
You've not noticed that for the public. I think certainly if you wanted to have a discussion on that request, we could notice it.
At a future
But
time.
I actually think that you are required to provide notice to the public if you're going to have discussions about the decision to do so.
Yeah,
So
and I was not going to allow that, but I appreciate the attorney jumping in. I appreciate you making that as a closing comment, that it is something you would like council to consider doing in the future. We will talk at some point to see if we would like to.
Thank you for listening to me.
Okay. I was going to close out by just saying, Lisa, this is not about your family. This is not a personal thing. It's about one generation to the next for our community. And I support our staff's findings. I support the findings of our Planning and Zoning Commission. I think that, as I understand it, this ordinance is written in the affirmative. But we also could just simply not act and it would die on its own?
No,
or
I disagree with that.
What are the options for the motion?
So I will say your actions have to be in the positive.
Okay.
So you have to, so if you were to call a vote on the ordinance as written, if it didn't pass, that alone is not action under our land use code on this particular item.
Okay.
You have three options before you. You can approve the application, which would be passage of the ordinance.
Right.
You can approve with conditions, or you can deny the application.
So it would be a motion to
deny the
approve. Wait. The ordinance is written
in the affirmative.
so we don't even talk about the ordinance, we
If you
don't
want to.
talk about the ordinance, we just talk about the application.
Correct. So I think what I'm hearing is the appropriate motion would be to make a motion to deny the application submitted by the Goose for property at 150 North 8th Street for the reasons stated on the record. Or if you have a personal comment you want to say, either you feel it doesn't meet the criteria, or it doesn't, you haven't found a hardship, those are all sort of acceptable motions. But I think if you choose to deny if there's a desire to make a motion to deny the application, my suggestion is to make the motion to deny the application submitted by the Goose for 150 North 8th Street for whatever reasons you wish to give.
Let's see,
There's a proposed motion in the packet.
do you want to make that, or?
Sure.
Okay.
So I move to deny ordinance number 13, series of 2026, denying the request for a major amendment to a subdivision variances to floor area and growth management code system review.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Would the maker of the motion and the seconder agree to an amendment to include the language, because there's a finding of no hardship and there is, we do not want to expand an existing nonconformity, or that we support staff's findings? I'd like to have a little more in the motion.
It just
Up to the people who
Yeah.
made the motion.
Would you
But I will
consider-
say in your comments, just for the record,
think
you
we've
can
covered that?
Yeah.
support your vote if you wish to make a comment before the vote is taken.
Okay, we'll do that. Well, we got a motion then.
Do you want to try to do that?
Okay.
There is another option. May we pull the application?
So we do have a motion on the table. We have a second. You have to do something with that motion. So we're in a situation where I just want to explain here what happens depending on where you want to go with this. If you want to withdraw the application at this point, both the motion and the seconder would have to withdraw the motion because it is on the table and it needs to be acted on. If you do that, then the applicant could withdraw the application. I will say that if you vote to deny this, right now you have a motion on the table to do that, they would be precluded from bringing back a similar application for 1 year, is my understanding. And so if you want to give them the opportunity to reevaluate and potentially come back within the next year, the appropriate action would be for the motion and seconder to make a motion to withdraw the current motion on the table. Because it's
And then
there,
they
and
just do their-
and then they would need to formally withdraw the application after you take the motion off the table, if that's something you're interested in allowing.
Okay,
It's
well,
up to you.
Christine or Sam, would,
Just want to ask, why would you like to pull the application?
Well, for the reasons stated, and also just to not engender a denial on this land use application. It just, it's within our rights to withdraw an application.
And
and then you could
other than-
resubmit next week.
Well,
I mean,
that
no,
wouldn't,
I mean,
that's not the.
or next year, or,
No.
yeah.
That's not the intent. It would just be to withdraw to,
Okay.
Sam, you had a question?
No, that I think that's fine.
His question was for them.
Yeah,
And
so,
it preserves certain rights and things. It just avoids a denial and gives us certain latitude.
well, then just one more question, probably to Ben, as far as like any negative outcomes from not denying something, but rather just having him pull it. Is there anything that I should be worried about from that, or we should be worried about? So-
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no-
Then I'll happily make a motion to withdraw my motion, my previous motion of denying.
And I will withdraw my second.
So you second.
So,
So can we take a vote? I think
Yeah,
that
can we
would
call the
call.
roll on the motion to withdraw the motion?
crazy, but yeah.
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Gu? Oh, sorry. Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes.
And so then I think we need a formal.
So then
withdrawal on
the applicant formally requests the withdrawal of this land use application from consideration.
And do we vote to formally allow them to withdraw the application?
They can withdraw it. You do not need to take action on that.
But you will follow up with a written withdrawal tomorrow to our ComDev staff?
If council would prefer that, yes.
I think we should have something for the record.
Something in writing, so for the record, to note that the application has been withdrawn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the verge of a
Adjourn the meeting.
withdrawal. Let me ask, is that all the business that we needed to attend to?
That is all that is on your agenda this evening. I have
Okay.
nothing further.
Again, I think we need to make sure the record knows that this was withdrawn, so there would not be a negative vote. But other than that, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Oh, seconded.
Boy, they got there fast. Okay, Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you.